until the end of times, which
Thanks for coming on, Dustin. I really appreciate your contribution.
Hey, thank you, Brundlefly. I appreciate it very much, and I still love the Jeff Goldblum avatar. It's my favorite.
And I love this velour jacket that you're wearing.
Hey, I'm gonna send you one as soon as you show me your face. I'll run it through my social media.
Right.
Show
me your face, boy.
Oh no, I'll run it through my social media facial recognition software through the NSA, back through the deep state, back to me, and I'll have your address and I'll mail you one of these.
Mr. Gold, cool. We have an audience request. Hold on. People want to know what your sleeve tat is on your left arm.
What the sleeve tat? It's actually when I was 18. This is a zipper opened up. It's a vagina zipper with electronics inside. The other side was during college. I was trying to do some H.R. Geiger stuff, and I let actually a black guy with probably, as Norman would say, an 85 IQ practice on me, and he fucked it up tremendously, and I was pretty drunk. I made him quit, and that was the end of it. After that, I have no other tattoos other than that.
All right. That answer is beyond satisfactory. Have an excellent night.
Thank you very much. Have a good night. See you, Halsey.
See you later, man.
All right, so Gregory, you had some questions for Halsey.
First of all, I just want to say I can't believe
fascist,
you kicked off.
Feminist army marches tomorrow. Are those the orders?
What was that?
The Islamist feminist Nazi army marches tomorrow. Is that what the last guy said?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't recall hearing that, but it sounds like something he would say.
Well, no, I mean, I was just we were talking about Trump's psychology there for a moment, and people were talking about, he's got a Jewish son-in-law, and then he hates him, but he hires him in his administration. It's like, yeah, but don't project Trump's internal contradictions onto us. I mean, Trump is a bit of a fickle guy. I mean, there were reports that he wasn't happy with the fact that Ivanka was with Kushner.
Yeah, I've actually heard that too.
There were reports that he kept Hitler's table talks next to his bedside.
And his grandfather, or was it his father, was in the Klan?
Also bullshit, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, children are different from their parents, but again, it's not.
Matter. It was bullshit. It was not Klan march.
There are white nationalists on both sides of this. There's the David Duke camp, which lately seems to really like Trump. There's the Pat Little-esque kind of people who think he's a complete Zionist shill.
Are you pro Pat Little, Greg?
I mean, I don't know. I just I don't. The idea that he's being paid by Tom Steyer, I mean, I guess I'm going to have to look into that more. Can I get a paycheck from Tom Steyer? Where do I collect my money?
Oh, I'll let you. I get one.
You want to
we get Steyer bucks over here.
Panama and say that you're willing to walk.
Yeah, no, Greg. So I mean, obviously, the fact that you're willing to entertain it, something rubs you the wrong way about Pat. Is that fair to say?
Well, I mean, his confrontational tactics, I mean, I have been content to try to take over the GOP with quiet infiltration. And I've seen this, right? The people that were running some of Trump's campaign offices that I was with in 2016 are now filtering up into the GOP apparatus. They have full-time jobs there. So this is getting somewhere. I know Spencer was on tonight saying, it might have been on before he came on here, he was on somebody else, and he was sort of counter signaling the idea. And I was talking with Evan McLaren, who was also, that entire camp is very negative on the idea of utilizing current institutions. But, having volunteered in the Trump campaign, I see the value, the idea that you're going to start a third party and you're just going to start all these institutions on your own. I mean, like the caller lists alone. How do you compile that data? How do you get access to that data? The state GOP apparatus has all that compiled. The addresses, if you're going to do, flyering on houses, that's targeted. That's not random. We don't, necessarily target everybody. So I'm skeptical of the idea of blowing everything out in the open. I'm somewhat skeptical, as I think Halsey pointed out the idea that everybody's going to pour out into the streets, make their, put their faces on display in these "It's Okay to Be White" marches. I don't know what to think about it.
Bro, just so you know, that the party that he was going to take over as a third party was Ross Perot's party, which in 1996 got 8 million votes. So there was an apparatus in place. Jesse Ventura was a governor elected on that party. There was a very strong base of that party.
I just want to say, Brundlefly, as your vizier, I think I just like to let you know, I think it's bad form to boot one of the leading YouTube comment anti-circumcision activists off of your show in such an unceremonious manner. I think it's poor form.
You circumcised him from the show.
Well,
you circumcised him from the show, rather abruptly.
I've got the knife right here.
Well, one, I brought him back. Two, he was cutting me off while I was trying to speak, and he was unfortunately he was the one I grabbed and threw to make an example. He had unfortunate timing.
I'm sorry. I thought I was talking over Halsey because he seemed to be filibustering quite a bit tonight.
He is a filibusterer. I'll give you that. But
cool.
When I speak up, know my voice.
Yes, sir.
He will be your voice.
All right. What do we have left, guys? It's 3 a.m. I'm gonna this show has gone through 5 or 6 movements.
Brought to us by one of our special donators. Thank you very much, sir.
Oh, are we doing
Mr.
that?
King Coughness, we are going to be thanks to King Coughness, we are being brought a special edition, never before heard or once before heard, Brundlefly audio recording that's been kept in a virtual vault up until this point.
Yeah,
so
you guys ready for this?
Without further ado, Brundlefly.
I'm gonna hit the call button. All right. So here we go. Okay, I'm gonna take it off screen square. So I'll continue. I do have more also when you finish. Hello, Richard. May I ask who's calling? This is Brundlefly from the Brundlecast. We're an alt-right show on YouTube. Okay. How did you get this number? I got it from a friend who saw it on Frame Game Show. Okay. Yeah, he's really doxed this number. Okay. What is your question? Well, I was just, I actually didn't really expect you to answer the phone. This is kind of crazy. I don't know. Maybe I could set you up for an interview sometime. Like I've actually had Frame on the show and working on having JF later this week. Okay. Could you send me a message at, just send me a text message at this number? Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. Just send me a link to your show and be good times. Yeah, no, that'd be great. All right. Yeah, send me a link to your channel and I'll check out and see what you guys are up to. All right, cool. All right, appreciate it. All right. All right. Bye.
Then Brundle was all surprised you answered. And just explained
Wait, was that?
Here's my number.
Dude, it was like A, is the number real, and then B, he picked up. And then I think we spent the next hour and a half. We could probably replay like Duva going, well, you sounded like a fangirl. Wow, great way to go. Like you get this big opportunity and you really fuck it up.
He didn't sound like a fangirl on that show, on that call, on the show when he had Richard Spencer. Now, damn. But
we're getting some requests in the comments section. Let's see. First of all, we're Bats in the Barbell says press 1 for Duvid to rap. Renee Gaynon says press 2 for Halsey to strip. Let's see.
Yeah, Renee Gaynon says, am I the only one who thinks Halsey is kind of hot?
Someone gave $5.
Who gave $5? Someone else gave $5?
I gotta check it for you.
Well, I'm checking. That was King Coughness gave $5. Said play the video, cunt. We already did that. And thank you very much, King Coughness. Yeah, is Renee Guinan a woman? Do we know that? Oh, she'll donate $5 for Halsey to strip. Is that what you were going with, David? So Halsey, $5 to take your shirt off.
I was looking at your Streamlabs. Your Streamlabs said Duvid Duke donated $5.
Oh, that's King Coughness.
Duvid Duke.
Halsey, screen share that. Do you have that meme by any chance?
Which one?
The one where Austin's where Duvid's on the toilet.
That wasn't Duvid. That was Mark Collette.
No, I thought you made a Duvid one.
No.
He was like, Daddy, I wipe my own butt.
Yeah, that was Mark Collette. That wasn't Duvid.
Oh.
I have that, but it's Mark Collette.
Well,
I don't think I've ever actually made a Duvid meme.
No, you did make. Oh, stop it, Halsey! You took that Mark Collette one and must have put Duvid's face over the top because you guys had Duvid and Halsey. You guys had that fight where Duvid said he was going to literally kick your ass, and then you blocked him.
Wait, let me see. If I made it, then I probably still have it. Let me see.
Yeah, you had me like. I mean, God forbid you had me like I was Duvid Duke's son sitting on a
Dr.
Duke. Hold on a sec. Let me see. I should still have it then. Hold on.
Dude, true, you debated Eric Stryker. I heard this reference in the chat, but I never saw it on YouTube.
Oh, that happened. Duvid versus Stryker happened.
Yeah, heel turn. Awesome. It got taken down. Heel turn took it down.
Awesome.
They took it down?
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have a part 2, like this the dark web.
Wait, who took Stryker versus Duvid down?
Heel turn took it down.
Because of the strike?
I'm not sure.
I think he had a fallout with Stryker, so I think he might have took all Stryker stuff down.
Oh, it was that serious?
Yeah, what was up with that? They got into an argument over whether a foreign company should be developing
so you can
resources within a nationalist country, and that caused a falling out.
Yeah, so a couple things. Blue Lizard Babs has a mirror of Duvid versus Stryker. You can check it out on Babs' channel, the Blue Lizard, okay? Now, in regards to the fallout between Stryker and Joaquim, I mean, I only know what I saw, which is that, yeah, there's clearly some under the surface tension between the two, and it flamed up with basically Joaquim calling him a communist, calling Stryker a communist, Stryker calling Joaquim a neocon. Who said it first doesn't really matter. I don't really remember anyway. It got really nasty and personal, and that was the last time we saw Stryker on that program. So,
and that may or may not be the reason why they took my debate with him down.
I think because it was too spicy.
They also got Stryker.
Dude, I mean, Stryker is pretty out there, but like when you start talking about Jews, I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, like ovens start firing up. I mean, it's like you're a walking strike, my friend. Your hateful rhetoric.
I kind of want to debate Stryker because we agree on like 90% of stuff.
Are you talking about this one?
We disagree on kind of annoys me.
Wait, let me see. Yeah, I think this is it. Hold on. Yeah, that's it.
Matt, I'm sorry, David.
I made a poopy all by myself. Dude.
Yeah, apology accepted, Halsey. Glad we made up, but that's why you got kicked off Twitter. Your trolling got you kicked off Twitter.
I'm now, actually.
That was Hashem.
Yeah, I've been kicked off Twitter a few times. I just actually got off another 7-day suspension.
Wait, Stryker has been back on heel turn apparently.
Oh, cool.
I guess they got over it. Which is, good for them. Good for everybody. No sense for people to argue. Just like, Duvid and Halsey threatening to beat each other to a pulp on Twitter. That's no good for the Jewish people. That's division. That's just not necessary. You know. Oh wait, is this another meme? What is this?
We got to get a handle on that Jew on Jew violence. Getting out of control.
Yeah, you know, I will say I don't really care what kind of car accident David Duke got in. He's gone like way too far with his
Botox and
it's not just the Botox, it's like the being 65 and working out that much. You know? Like
wait, David Duke was in a car accident?
Supposedly at some point, and that's why he had to have the plastic surgery. I mean, it's one of these things where it's like, look, man, your like the clothes you wear are in my closet from when I was 24 years old. And, you know, move on.
You know what's even funnier? Eric Stryker, they're talking about his name. Eric Stryker was a gay porn star who died of AIDS. If you look it up on Wikipedia, you can find it. I tease him about it whenever I find him, when I used to find him online. But yeah, the name Eric Stryker was a gay porn star who died of AIDS.
Wow. R.I.P.
Didn't Stryker get doxxed a while back? But
I don't think so.
Hey, there's a comment in the chat from a Duvid. Duvid says, this is just a mid to high IQ stream, not autistic enough for me. Duvid, why don't you smoke a little more and come down to our level?
That's what I'm doing. Like, I've been pounding this like straight for 5 hours now.
All right. Final words. Let's start with, well, actually, Greg, do you have any final questions, any statements, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, get involved with local politics. Go join your local GOP office and maybe look into Identity Europa and provide an interface between different organizations. And if you want your foreskin back, please visit my channel. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, Greg.
Thank you.
Babs?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm going to be hosting the after stream on my channel known as the Blue Lizard. This is going to be the Jew after stream. So thank you very much.
Babs, get a lighter grip on that mic, man. That doesn't look right at all.
Yeah. So sorry. So thank you very much, Brundlefly, for having me on. Pleasure seeing everyone.
Thanks for being on.
Night. Take care.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. So this is my stream now. I'm in control. How's everyone doing tonight? This is the Babcast, Babscast. Hello, Lolis1185. Hello, Adam Smythe. Hello, Evie. Hello, Bats in the Barbell. Hello, Tom Anderson. So let's see. What are people saying in the chat? I really admire Dr. Duke going to the gym at his age. Yeah, I admire that too. Justice Ginsburg will retire 2019, maybe Jan 2019, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. She seems to be recovering pretty well. But that maybe she would retire for other reasons. Let's see what else. You too can be whole again. So, all right. So there were a lot of requests for the Duvid versus Stryker. Which seems to be unavailable right now. But luckily, I can get the stream on my channel. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be playing the Duvid versus Stryker stream. Here it is. Where is it? Sweet, here we go.
Made a power play, invited the Jews in, made it very friendly for us to be there.
So let's start up. I'm not sure how YouTube identifies the stream and therefore deems it inappropriate. User reports. I see. Alright, so hopefully this won't get any user reports. So let's see, how do I start this up? I guess like such. I'm going to start the stream off with watching. Alright, where should I start? So I've seen
creative leeway there, and yeah, they're showing America as it actually is, rather than the inverted America of Dick Wolf and Law and Order.
Yeah, well, and this is just kind of the death of the cult of celebrity, the death of the cult of e-celebrity, and certainly the reduction of power and the previously inassaultable power structure, right? You see journalism is getting replaced by what people are doing on the internet. You see the media is getting destroyed in the same way all over the place. And so, yeah, I really do think that we'll hit the point there where people can be more open about content. And certainly there's a market for it, right? Every time the NFL or NBA or whatever does their virtue signaling bullshit, they lose white viewers. But if you make a movie that is pro-white working class, you don't have to be super explicit about stuff. There will be people that go and watch it as long as it's not shit.
Yeah. No, and trust me, that kind of stuff is going to, it gets more people interested than, all these movies about like these woke black movies and these stupid comic book movies and shit. Like those things are quickly hitting their ceiling in terms of profitability and in terms of interest. In a sense, we're all to blame because a lot of the reason why good movies don't come out anymore is because of piracy. So, what's that do? Well, cultural planning, like 200,000 people is the estimate that Francis Parker Yockey made for Culture Men. So who those 200,000 people are totally depends on what the people with money, the benefactors, want. So in America, you got Lena Dunham and you got, what's that? The other one, the really fat one, Tess Holliday, right?
Oh, oof.
Those are our cultural elites. Under Wilhelm, it was Schopenhauer. It was Kant. It was like a funny selfie with you at some point.
In person? You're going to come to Metro Detroit?
How about, actually, no, never mind. No, seriously. But anyway, you seem to have wanted to debate me for a long time. So what's your...
I think it was other people that have tried to push a debate between me and you. I do enjoy debate. I was on the debate team in high school, and obviously I'm a... What
could you possibly disagree with me on?
It's funny because I actually kind of enjoy your social commentary, and I've learned a decent amount from you in my because I'm a believing Jew who kind of looks at higher forces. So to some extent, I enjoy your commentary because I believe there's larger forces that hold the Jewish people together as opposed to a conspiracy. So I do actually enjoy your commentary, and I've learned actually quite a bit from listening to you on a few interviews that I've heard. Although obviously I'm sure we disagree on many, many issues. I'm a multiculturalist. Generally, I'm pro-immigration. Obviously, I love the Jews. Although,
come on. Are you being sincere?
Yeah.
Okay. So, so continue. So what exactly would you do you disagree with me on?
Well, obviously I'm pro-Jewish. I think even secular Jews have been a largely positive influence on the Western American culture. Personally, not just my bias as a Jew favoring multiculturalism, although I'll admit that my bias, group strategy will favor multiculturalism, but I personally believe in it. I'm not anti-white. And I deal with a lot of secular Jews. I actually went to a school that was founded by Holocaust survivors and is largely based on the Frankfurt School. And I'd never heard of the Frankfurt School actually until I started listening to you reading Kevin McDonnell. Although reading that, I do appreciate the commentary and see the effects of that on my upbringing and my colleagues.
Okay. So
I'm also a half-breed, so people like to some extent I'm a troll, but I'm a half-breed. I grew up kind of secular, and then I went to Israel, became born again. But I lived in Brooklyn. I know about all the the Shomrim and Hasidic townships and settlements, and I'd been on these streams in the beginning because I thought I was alt-right, and to some extent I still think I am. And we might have some common ground on even American politics in terms of that the Hasidic communities take on politics, and why people like me were originally in the alt-right.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to process this moment right now. No, I'm kidding. Come on. But all right, so
I'm not here to troll you, although I'm happy to.
Where do I start?
I have one more. Multiculturalism and immigration. I think that should be a good topic for discussion, don't you?
I am German. I'm part German Jewish. My ancestors were Bundist, and when they first came to America, we were socialists. So I know you're national socialist. So obviously I'm a Jew, but in a certain respect, we do have a similar outlook on that politics because my grandfather's grandfather was Workman's Circle, and he came to America as an open socialist.
So I'll tell you why I think you might be trolling me, aside from all the obvious stuff. The reason I think you're trolling me is because I've yet to meet a real Jew that is as transparent and upfront as you are. You're very direct, very blunt in saying what you... Okay. All right.
I did study in ultra-Orthodox schools. My mother's Jewish lineage was good enough that I was capable of going to Jewish schools. But just from your perspective, maybe I get that from my father.
So you know what? I'm not even going to debate you. I love your optics, and I hope you make many videos talking about how you want Zionism for Jews and multiculturalism for the West. And I want you to...
I've discussed that. I'm personally not a Zionist, and I'm from the anti-Zionist school. I know a lot about Israel. I studied in Israel. I know many Zionists, but I'm consistent on that. I've had many debates about this. I favor Tel Aviv for 20 million people. I'm a civil engineer by trade. I was let's build to the sky, just give them all citizenship, and pop them in a city.
So, you got great optics. I
even have my Talmuds and my Talmud collection in the back just for you.
Yeah, I'm loving this. I think you're great. In fact,
I heard you and Enoch on Luke 4 talking about the Shomrim and stuff like that, and I lived in that area in that community, and I did see some point of agreement on that when you said you want what we have, to some extent, like we're the only people in America that they really make exceptions for us to live with our own rules in our own community, whatever the reason is. And I did take enjoyment when you said that.
Well, it's not so much that I want what you have; it's that I want you to stop taking what we had. Do you see where I'm coming from with there?
Well, I can see on the greater platform you talk about immigration. I'm saying, like, obviously, I don't know who you are. Like, chances are perhaps I'm never going to cross in real life. You're saying I'm actually taking anything from you, even though we might have disputes at City Hall, or people I'm loosely affiliated with might lobby Congress and be part of media or politics. I don't think I don't see how I owe you anything, or I've wronged you or harmed you.
Well, here's the thing. So right now, the Jewish community is up in arms. Okay, just to show you an example, the Jewish community is up in arms about Julia Salazar, who is apparently mostly of Italian descent or something, and she's been pretending. Yeah, well, she's
Spanish Inquisition converts to Christianity.
Okay, well, the Jews, Orthodox and non-Orthodox, are going around the media talking about how she's not a real Jew and she's a racial imposter, and that her critiques of Israel are anti-Semitic because she's not an actual Jew. So, in that sense, the Jewish community is acting like this one Gentile woman who's just some dumb 27-year-old thought that this woman is a huge threat to them. They're taking action. They're trying to ruin her. They're trying to tank her career. And Jews have the institutional power and the will to do it. So my point is, why? And I know the answer, but why can't we agree to disagree and just, Jews stay out of our hair? If you have Israel, why not go there and hang out, right?
Well, I'm not a Zionist like that, and I'd argue that personally I think Jews are good for America, and we could fight in City Hall, and if you're in New York City, it's a different issue than, I assume you're not from a major metro area where there's hundreds of thousands of Jews, and if you're from a place that has very few Jews, there's some might be an imprint of Jewish power that affects you, but it's not on the City Hall level where you're not actually, there's no necessarily local Jew that's dealing with most people. Half the people in America, they don't know Jews personally.
Right, but power in America, political power, is projected from like three places: New York, D.C., and L.A. Is that not true? L.A. runs the culture, New York runs the money, D.C. runs the government. And that just so happens to be the top three places where Jews live. So the fact that there's not a Jew in every single, one-horse town is irrelevant. The fact that Jews control the major choke points. They have this central power that is in the hands of a very small minority of people that all know each other, very tribalistic, and do not have the interest of the average American in mind. And you constantly see Jews and Gentiles clashing just in an indirect fashion, where you have people talking about Hollywood elite types, or you see Donald Trump talking about the bankers, or the capitalists, the multinationals. These are all just code words for Jews. So clearly the people of America who find all of, Hollywood, the Hollywood types, the Goldman Sachs types, the plutocratic donors, those three classes of people are very unpopular in America, and by extension, Jews are very unpopular in America. So to say that Jews are good for the United States, well, that is definitely a minority opinion.
Well, certainly survey, any polling data will show that Jews are the single most popular religion and people in America, not necessarily by overwhelming majority, but I went over with Brundlefly, who has been the one trying to get me to debate you. Those statistics are very clear. I'm saying, like, there might be a sizable element, even tens of millions of people that don't like us, but certainly the majority of America is philo-Semitic.
Oh, sure. In surveys where people call you on the phone or tell you to fill out a document, I'll tell you what, in Stalinist Russia, Joseph Stalin had 80 or 90% approval rating. That isn't because he was actually popular. It's because people feared him. That is the same relationship Americans have to Jews. They fear Jews. They don't like Jews. They fear them. It's very different.
I've been walking around like this for a decade, and I say just from street experience and saying, like, yeah, there's a lot of people that don't like me, but the fact is, a lot of people like me. A lot of people come over and want to praise the Jews and be friends with the Jews and show their great affinity towards the Jews. And the Jews are active in a lot of different fields that make us popular in certain things, like Hollywood to you might be a negative, but to a lot of people it's a positive. I was in day trading and stocks and construction, real estate fields. Like Donald Trump loves the Jews because that's what we do. We're in the same field as him.
Well, I think he likes you counting his money because he knows how much you guys like money. I don't think that he's honestly. I don't think he's the biggest fan of you guys.
I'm saying Donald Trump is the one person that honestly admires Sheldon Adelson. He looks up to Sheldon Adelson as someone who's better than him at what he does himself.
If Jews are so beloved, why do they have countless institutions dedicated to their well-being? And why is it that they're always talking about how hated they are, and especially the fact that why are Jews so neurotic and worried that the next Shoah is coming over the horizon if Jews are so beloved? So are Jews lying about it, or are they afraid because they're not that beloved?
Jews being beloved in America is statistical data not put forth by Jews. Put forward by Pew and Gallup and whoever does it. And obviously, the Bible talks about the Bible itself with Pharaoh who saw the Jews. The same arguments that you give against the Jews is basically in the Bible, where Pharaoh in Egypt saw that the Jews are becoming massive and powerful, lest they become partners with our enemies, and therefore Pharaoh wants to enslave and expel the Jews. And the Haman in the Purim story with King Ahasuerus, who
so anti-Semitism isn't real. Anti-Semitism isn't real then.
Well, from a religious perspective, anti-Semitism is more real than you imagine. Anti-Semitism is actually a spiritual force that you succumb to. I'm saying there's a natural. This is from a believer perspective. If you want, I could talk with you from a different perspective, but from the mind of a Bible believer or a religious Jew. But when God chose the Jewish people, it caused the world to hate us. There was that element. So you have a natural inclination to dislike the Jews, whether you know it or not.
Do you think that God hates you as a people? Because certainly the Old Testament has a lot of stories of that.
Yeah, there's that theology. I'm saying Marcionian original Christian theology. But I'm saying the Jewish anti-Semitism is unique of all the different hatreds in the world. And the rabbis, at least the believers, would say that that's actually part of the system. That there's some spiritual force of anti-Semitism. It's not just that you looked into the Jewish people and decided to dislike the Jewish people, but you succumbed to some higher force.
I mean, do you think that there's a reason why Jews have been kicked out of like 120 countries historically? Do you think there's a reason why there's anti-Semitic things on Egyptian pyramids?
Well, I mean, to some extent.
Someone painted a swastika on a fucking pyramid.
Well, no, but there are carvings of people with large hook noses and merchanty hands that regular historians and archaeologists think are representative.
If you don't believe the Bible, you have to come up with your explanation of the Jewish people, because obviously, what you're complaining about the Jewish people.
The Old Testament has no archaeological evidence for a lot of it. It's just a story. It's just a story Jews wrote about themselves to rationalize why the world hates them.
But how could it be that for thousands of years you're giving the exact same complaints about the Jewish people that the Egyptians gave, that the Babylonians gave, that the Greeks gave, that the Romans gave, that the Spanish gave, that
for the same reason
that they all might have had something. If there's a guy, 1 second, Eric. If there's a guy that got kicked out of 20 bars in the same town, do you think that maybe the 21st bar would have a reason to say, no, we don't want that guy in here? Do you think that perhaps there's a pattern?
People have had the same opinions about bees stinging them for thousands of years as well. It's not because bees are chosen by God. It's because bees sting people. And Jews are like that. Jews are a group of individuals that tend to block up, they tend to group up, and cause havoc wherever they go. That's just a fact.
I mean, we cause blessing wherever we go to some extent. All the great societies rose together with the Jews. The Jews have been a central part of every major world empire from the beginning of civilization.
Oh, do you think homosexuality, the normalization of it, do you think that's a blessing as a religious Jew?
I mean, factually,
yeah.
I mean, you like history, so I mean, I do enjoy talking with you because we're on opposite sides of this coin, but you've studied the issue. But who was the first nation in the world to forbid homosexuality?
What did Joe Biden? Who did Vice President Joe Biden thank for mainstreaming homosexuality in the United States? Who did the vice president? I'm assuming you won't think Joe Biden is an anti-Semite.
Yeah, I know what Joe Biden said, and I know
he said he personally thanked the Jews for their role.
You're correct. I'm not going to disagree with you, but at the same time, you do realize that the Jews were the first civilization to outlaw homosexuality in ancient world. Almost all ancient civilizations had forms of homosexuality. The Jews, until Moses and the Jews came together and said, "No, don't do this homosexuality thing. It's a sin."
It's questionable whether they were the first or not, but they definitely did outlaw homosexuality. But see, then we get to the crux of the problem. Jews teach other people. They enforce practices, concepts, ideas in people, foreign peoples, to control them. They impose ideas that they know are not true, like the idea that homosexuality is a normal or healthy behavior, and they impose that on Gentile societies. That is why people hate Jews. It's not because God picked the Jews to be some kind of special martyr. No, it's because Jews tell lies that hurt people. So,
I'm going to fully disagree, and I mean we could talk about this from a non-biblical perspective. I mean, from the biblical perspective, you got the credit. You got to give credit to the Jews where the credit is due, and we'll accept your complaints. But say the Jews have a desire.
Oh, thank you.
I was saying the secular Jews. I mean, to a large extent, I do agree with a lot of your social criticism, and you are right that a lot of, in Israel, my rabbis used to joke, all the isms, they're the Jews. Socialism, communism, capitalism, all the isms, they have Jewish founders to it. And to some extent,
National Bolshevism.
I mean, to some extent, you find
ethnocentric tribalistic group supporting the most ethnocentric tribalistic country in the world. How do you explain that disconnect?
I think he's opportunist. I mean, taking his whiteness and Jewish. He wants to, both ends. He wants to have the benefit of his whiteness and his benefit of the Jewishness at the same time. And I would disagree with him theology. I mean, although I would say Ben Shapiro was largely a positive influence, but your critiques on him, I would probably largely agree with.
I think having a debate here in this context is a little bit of a waste of time for both of us. We have, frankly, irreconcilable worldviews, but I would like to just kind of pick your brain a little bit as an insider, particularly honest-seeming insider of the Jewish community. Now, do you think the Holocaust actually happened?
I know thousands of Holocaust survivors. Like, I went to the bathhouses. Ultra-Orthodox Jews go to the ritual bathhouse in the morning. I've seen hundreds of tattoos from Auschwitz in my life. Like, I'm certain the Holocaust happened. Like, numbers, specific details. I have, 50 books on the subject here on my wall.
I'm talking about the gas chambers. Do you think millions of Jews, because you're talking about survivors, which, of course, if you get gassed with cyanide, you won't survive that. So I want to, do you think that they were gassing people and turning them into lampshades?
Well, I don't have any testimony. Like, I've never heard a survivor talk about the gas chamber. I'm a German Jew. I've met countless Jews who the majority of their families were murdered off. And whether it happened in the gas chamber or somewhere, I'm pretty sure the gas chamber.
No, it matters, because if you accuse someone of murder and, the means of the murder matter, don't they? How the murder was conducted is relevant. So I'm asking you, do you think the question I have really is, Auschwitz is seen as the place where the gas chambers killed millions of Jews, and yet there were lots of Poles and homosexuals and gypsies supposedly in Auschwitz, and yet I've yet to read a single memoir from any non-Jew who survived or lived in Auschwitz about the gas chambers. So I'm asking you, I mean, is there kind of like an understanding in the Jewish community that the gas chambers are actually just atrocity propaganda?
It's interesting. I lived in Borough Park in Brooklyn, which has per capita the most Holocaust survivors of any place in the world, and they're very anti. I'm forgetting the word, slipping my mind. The money that the Germans give to Holocaust survivors. And there they actually put up signs in synagogues, and they said, don't take the money, and people will try to, get them to sign up to get the reparations. And, so there's dispute among Holocaust survivors. To me, I've never heard a Jew that the gas chambers seem pretty true that it happened. So many people lost, just statistically, you do agree that there was, if you say that there were 10, 15 million Jews in that area before the war.
Millions and millions of people died in World War II, many non-Jews. In fact, most of the deaths in the Second World War were not Jewish. The question I'm asking you is the iconic gas chamber. Do these so-called survivors that you talk to, do they corroborate that story?
None of the survivors in my local area went through the gas chambers. There's some famous survivors, but no, I've never met. I've met survivors that were in Auschwitz for a temporary period of time, but obviously they survived. They didn't. Yeah.
So inside of the Jewish community itself, no one actually takes the gas chamber stuff seriously, right?
I think they do. They know we got killed, and God forbid. I work for a man in Brooklyn.
Talking about gas chambers.
Yeah, I'm saying that's not my area of expertise, but I'm saying that is the accepted history, and certainly millions of Jews were killed. I know European Jewish history.
Yes, okay. Many Jews died.
I can tell you names of hundreds of times.
Wait a second. I'm not disputing that many Jews died in the Second World War. What I am disputing is that they died in gas chambers. And you don't seem to be too confident that they did.
I'm pretty confident.
I give you credit for being honest.
I'm a civil engineer. I've heard you talk about, I don't know if you're involved in construction, but I go to the Siemens conference every year for 5 years, civil engineering. German companies still dominate many different fields. And I remember the first time I went to the Siemens conference, Siemens made the triggering devices, from what I understand, the electrical devices that triggered the gas chambers, for the fences, not the chambers, for the certainly the electric fences, and I researched that, and it's known history of the companies, for the chambers and making the concentration camps and the electrified fences. I'm not an expert in that area, so I'm not the one to debate you.
Well, I appreciate the honesty. Most Jews would just come out and lie and say, yes, I've heard thousands of Jews.
My local Holocaust museum has, they have as exhibits. There's a local Holocaust museum. I go there for events occasionally. I'm pretty sure they got. They have some of those gas things, and I've seen videos on it.
Oh yeah, they have.
Come here to debate you on that.
They'll display empty canisters of Zyklon B, but they won't add the fact that the United States government used Zyklon B against Mexican immigrants in the 1920s to delouse them of lice, which is exactly what the Nazis used Zyklon B for with the Jews. It was to prevent typhus outbreaks. So that is not proof of any homicidal plan to gas millions of Jews, right?
I hear the famous, Raoul Hilberg's destruction of European Judaism, Jews.
Right, which has been debunked heavily by numerous scholars, which is why it's not allowed to be debated. But anyway.
I mean, his source is almost exclusively the actual German data. I'm saying most of the estimates for what happened.
Rudolf Host is his source, who was tortured into giving that confession. Rudolf Host,
the official German, not just what the Jews say, but the official version of the German government is in correspondence with.
Yes, after
I don't
Nuremberg.
have any research or anything.
I mean, well, will you at least admit that Nuremberg wasn't a fair trial? Like, if Nuremberg was done in any country with law and order, it would have been thrown out on appeal. Would you at least agree on that?
Possibly.
Who? Hello?
Hello, Dr. Duvid. Are you here? Professor Duvid. Professor Duvid. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Brilliant. So, the Brundlecast is back. What do you think?
I'm still in the call with him. I muted myself. Are you working? You're going to bring it on? I'll leave the call with Brundle. You're going to go live.
Oh, I'm live. I'm live right now. You can stay in the call with Brundle and finish that up though first, because
so I'm going to leave the call with Brundle.
Or invite him in. Invite him in. Send him the link. Professor Duvid, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Brilliant. So, Brundlecast is back. What do you think?
I'm still in the call with him. I muted myself. Are you working? You're going to bring it on? I'll leave the call with Brundle. You're going to go live.
Oh, I'm live. I'm live right now. You can stay in the call with Brundle.
Okay, Brundle. Babs is streaming now. I'm not sure if you want to join. He'll give you. I'll PM you the link on Twitter. No, I mean that'd be illegal to put it across state border.
Duvid, don't talk about organ trafficking when we're live on the air, please.
Okay. I'm gonna log off, Brundle. Okay.
All right, Judas, welcome. No. You can stay. Finish up the call with Brundle, Duvid. In the meantime.
I just logged off.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, anyway, welcome to the Jew Stream, Judas and Duvid. How are we doing this evening?
I'm doing good.
Are you live now?
Yeah, we are live right now.
Okay, are you live already?
Yeah,
yes,
Holmes.
As a matter of fact, we are live. So how's everyone doing this evening? How are we all doing tonight?
Just chilling. You know?
Yeah, I've been streaming for like...
Dude, the Brundlefly cast was so epic. Dustin versus Norvin is the most epic anime battle of 2018.
Wait, who versus Norvin?
Dustin versus Norvin.
Oh, that was pretty epic. What did you think of the show?
I thought it was a phenomenal show. I thought it was really one of your best Brundlecasts, one of your big high-profile Brundlecasts. It might not have gotten the most views of any Brundlecast, but it was certainly had... Over the course of the thing, I think it may have attracted more people than any other Brundlecast. You got some Brundle nations, Brundle donations, Brundle Shekels. You got some new subscribers, I'm sure. You got and I think that it was a very entertaining stream to watch. I think some brilliant chemistry happened there, and it had a nice cliffhanger on it. I want to see the matchup between Mr. Little and Mr. Gold.
Yeah. Though I have zero expectation of that happening because Pat will bail. That guy's such a sketchball. Are we? By the way, are we live? What are we doing? Are we like on the internet right now?
Yeah, we are. Judas just dropped out.
Am I in?
I thought you were showing Duvid versus Striker on your channel.
Yeah, I am showing Duvid versus Striker on my channel, and I'm live on my channel right now. This is my channel. This is my... Did Duvid not tell you that? I'm sorry.
What are we... So wait, so Blue Lizard is showing that matchup, and then we're on Babylonian Hebrew?
No, we're on Blue Lizard right now, and I'm no longer showing the matchup.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Bruno, your real name is Michael?
No, that's just his alt account. Just like how yours is Judas and Duvid's is Duvid. But anyway, what did everyone think of the Brundlecast?
It was bullshit that I wasn't on the stream.
Oh, really? Was it?
Bruno,
I'm sure there are perfectly adequate reasons.
On my stream you said I can come on the Brundlecast.
Wait, so are you going to address...
Lied, Brundlefly.
Are you going to... Judas,
lied to me, Michael.
Are you going to address the allegations that were alleged against you?
What?
Wait, who?
By you, right?
What?
Now you don't remember anymore?
You're being called out, Brundle.
Wait a minute, I said, God forbid, I hope it wasn't true, but you're the one who said it. You know, like, I don't know if there's any basis to it. But, you know, we're friends, we might as well just air it out.
Hold on a moment.
I mean, you guys, no one's gonna talk about what it is?
Wait, what is? Sorry, I feel like I'm out of the loop here. What's being discussed?
Someone said we might need an intervention with Judas. And like I was thinking, nah, it can't be, no chance. But you said it, you know, like here it is. Like let's do the intervention.
Oh, an intervention with Judas. Oh, what's being intervened on? All right, go ahead, just do your thing, everyone. I'll sit back and watch.
Judas said he was bisexual on his fucking stream. Like,
yeah, what's wrong with that, Brundlefly? What's wrong with me being bi? Judas, she honestly said with me being bi, having boyfriends on the side. There's nothing wrong with what I'm doing, dude. Just get over it. I'm loving life.
What are you
love
doing?
dick.
Yeah, but what about the Torah and the Sages?
I love guys' buttholes.
I'm shocked.
What about the Sages? Like you wept for Duvid's soul.
But dude, I'm multifaceted, okay?
What does that even mean?
And I'm not sure.
I have different interests in other things, Brundle.
What do you have interest in? Dudes? I'm interested in dudes, okay? So are you like a top or a bottom?
Both.
Are you a bear or a twink or an otter?
Both. I'm everything. I'm pan. I want to have sex with chairs and trees and shit.
Yeah, but this is awful. I mean, did you always feel this way? Or this just happened recently?
Yeah, dude, since the very beginning.
Oh man, that's
this
horrible.
Is the big reveal. This is like this is season 3 already, dude.
But you simultaneously believe in the Torah stuff, and you just can't overcome.
Yeah, but
sin.
like, yeah.
Or
yeah.
you're saying it's the whole Torah thing to act. Or you're saying you just can't overcome this one sin.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard for me, dude.
I mean, because you're weak. I mean, because you're weak.
Yeah.
I mean, what reason? Why can't you overcome this sin?
Because, dude, it's just too delicious.
I mean, you can't be. I mean, I could see from your behavior on the chat and like your I mean, because generally you've been a degenerate, basically your whole streaming career. But like, I'm sorry to hear this. I really hope you repent.
Degenerate Judas.
I hope you repent.
Who could have figured?
I mean, I'm not against it. I don't mind streaming with you or singing with you, but I don't even say disappointed. Like, it's your life.
It's what you expected, right?
But I'm a little bit. I'm not so shocked, I guess. But because you talk.
Yeah, just get over it, dude. I'm bi.
Yeah, but you preach Torah.
So what? You can still be, dude. Rabbi Akiva was probably gay too.
Now you're like openly a heretic. I'm saying like.
How do you know? How do you know? How do you know?
Dude,
how do you know that you didn't want to suck dick too?
You cannot be a sage and a homosexual.
Yeah, you can.
The sages were pretty clear on this. I'm not your judge, obviously. Like, Hashem's your judge. Hashem's a merciful God, and I'm an inclusive person. But I'm pretty sure that whatever faulty logic you're trying to justify this on, you'd be better off repenting.
Repent now, Judas. Repent, Judas. So wait,
I didn't do anything wrong by being bi, okay?
But we don't have to pick on you. Like Brundle had just mentioned.
You guys are just full of hatred.
I don't hate you for it. I mean,
nobody hates you, Judas.
Brundle mentioned it, and I was like, nah, it can't be. You got to be lying. I didn't even believe him. But now, like here, you're proudly agreeing.
Right, he's wrapped in the rainbow flag.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. We don't have to beat a dead horse. Okay, like okay. Whatever, we can move on. We don't have to keep on talking about it. I just brought up because Brundle mentioned it, and I was like, I had a hard time believing him. Just because you preach so much Torah.
Well, it's true. I'm gay. I mean, I'm bi.
And your wife doesn't mind?
Yeah. She's
what's up?
Okay with it.
Does she hook up with the guys too?
No, I keep her locked in the closet.
Well, I suggest
it's like the scene at the end of Godfather. I just like close the door on her.
Yeah. Can she fit in the closet?
Can she fit in the closet? Well, she's losing the weight, Brundlefly.
Is he talking to her in the closet right now?
That was my mom.
Oh.
I mean, does your mom know about this? Does she approve of it?
Yeah, get her on. Let's ask her what she thinks about all this.
Nah, that's okay. She doesn't need to know.
She doesn't know? You never told your mother?
Nah, I won't tell her, man.
Because there's no way would she disown you?
Yeah, she would.
Does she care about Hashem?
I mean, she would turn you over to the rabbis.
Yeah, she does.
Stoned. She would like snitch on you and turn you over to be stoned.
Yeah.
Oh my. Well, that's a very does that make you wonder, like, you think you're
this news drop is like was the biggest thing. Like, at the end of the day, your whole stream in returning to streaming, this little news drop here was the
most devastating news for you?
I don't know if it's devastating, but yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of like shocked. Like, we're streaming for months, and you're always preaching Torah and taking such a hardline view, and you're coming out, just like.
Well, I'm bi, okay? I'm bi.
Well, are you? I can't remember. Did you say you were a top or a bottom?
Dude, I'm everything.
You're versatile.
I'm fluid.
You're fluid. Do you like beefy guys or like Twinkie guys?
Dude, I have no preference. Everyone's interchangeable to me. I'm talking about everyone, bro.
He's omnisexual. Omnisexual.
Babs, what about you? Are you bi too?
Nope.
This is a very fast answer.
Yep.
Did Halsey come on? Maybe Halsey could save him. Maybe not all hope is lost.
Man, his soul ain't none of my business.
Yeah, Halsey, show him your bare chest. Maybe that'll move him straight.
No, I'm good. This is autistic as fuck.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't know why we have an audience.
But I mean, Halsey,
People
like,
watching this?
We went
Judas is one of your biggest
Because I
fans.
siphoned it off of your channel.
First, we were talking about white nationalism. Then we're talking about leftist infiltration. Now we're talking about dick. Like,
because this guy's your biggest fan. He's like, if you added up all the comments in your chat, probably Judas has more comments in your chat than like the next 3 people put together.
And that's
Yeah,
not
he
even
deletes
counting
them
all
like
the
8
deleted
seconds.
ones.
he deletes them 8 seconds after he makes them, and then Brundle boots him every time Brundle shows up. So
You know what's funny is, now that you've been recording, your video has been showing the chat. There's a permanent record. So I discovered all the things that Judas said about Babs.
I don't know
Babs.
he's do it. I don't know he's recorded the chat.
Well, but you did in certain episodes.
Yeah, I have a couple times. Yeah.
And so those couple times, Judas was in there saying very, very nasty
Yeah,
things. about
I
Babs.
always talk shit on Babs because he deserves it.
And Levi. These guys are...
Yeah, because they say a lot of shit that's not true.
What do they say that's not true?
Renee Gunan says
it's not important right now.
They want to talk about dick.
She wants to
I
talk
don't
about
want to
dick?
get into Judaism fights over, like, it's not, like, a good topic. It's
What?
not interesting.
What isn't?
Judaism fights.
Judaism fights? I don't think there's any real fight about being gay and being Jewish.
Well, just can we do an intervention?
No, there's that, like, that anti-Haredi stuff that Levi and Babs say. I
What
want
do
to talk.
they say?
Their whole
I've
thing
never heard
about
anti-Haredi stuff from
hating
them.
on Ashkenazi Jewry and like doing that whole, it's like making fun of prayer and stuff.
I've never heard either of them do that, so
Yeah, neither have I.
Yeah, I mean, besides for the revelation today, I'm generally on the same page as Judas. Like, we agree about the Torah and the sages, generally. So, like, I mean, really still kind of shocked by this.
you just don't agree on the twig and pickleberries.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it's like me being like a Hare Krishna. People are like, how does that go together? Like, what, you're Hasidic and a Hare Krishna?
Well, this is a great point.
I guess that, that's
Well,
like
it's also,
Judas or-
how are you a Hasidic with a lesbian rabbi? That's
yeah,
a
I mean,
better
so I guess
question.
like sometimes circumstances are beyond your control and things don't really make sense. Like, no, I mean, it doesn't really make sense. I'm just trying to live my life to the best of how I know how. And maybe Judas has some sort of explanation like that, and I'm wrong to judge him.
Yeah, you are wrong to judge me.
Well, I didn't judge you, but I was saying, as someone who's semi-friendly with you, thought to actually be a friend and try to help you out of this mess.
He's also just trying to save Olam Haba for you, man. Fuck.
Yeah.
I think there's only one way to settle this: a combination of rap battle, interpretive dance off, and sing off. I think that's in order. What do you guys say?
I will not be doing any of the above.
All right, how about blowing
I've
a
been
fat
working
blowing
on
a
the
fat vape cloud?
railroad
Yeah.
all
Blow
the
a fat
live
vape
long
cloud,
day.
What?
I've been working on the railroad just to pass the time away.
This is a Jew stream.
Halsey,
None
as
of us
part of-
ever worked on
Halsey,
the
Can
railroad.
you hear the whistle blowing?
Listen,
Rise
as part of-
up early in the morn.
Brundle, your singing's lovely. Halsey,
Did I win? It's round one, bitch.
Okay. So that's entry number 1. Halsey, I'd like you to blow a fat cloud of vape smoke as your submission for the Babylonian talent contest.
Done.
Excellent. All right, Duvid, I would like you to blow a fat cloud of vape oil smoke, and then I'd like you to spit some fire bars.
Then you watch Duvid's face hit the table.
Okay, here you go. You get a contact high from that?
I wish.
All right, so Judas, can you sing something for us?
I don't have a good singing voice. Look at my hat.
Sing
Okay,
like I'm
that's your
sexy and I
talent.
know it.
You have a hat that says "No, ma'am" on it.
I think of like
All right, let's show off your outfit of the day here. Show the audience. Show them your fit.
I'm styling you guys. This is I got as a joke. Oh, I have another hat.
Dude, do you have a what do you wear to the gay club?
Hold
And
on.
how do you get
Sure. This is what it is. That's what it is.
Oh, is that you?
Why aren't
Was that
you
your
scared
first
to get-
time?
Aren't you scared of getting doxxed? Like, aren't you going to lose your job at the Jewish bookstore?
I don't work.
Why would he lose his job for being bi?
Yeah, that's bullshit. I shouldn't lose my job for being bi.
But yeah, you still
That's homophobia.
Yeah, I know, really. It's fucking bullshit.
You're not scared of that?
No. I'm not scared of anything to do with it. I only fear God.
Well, if you fear God,
Oh, you obviously
you'd
don't.
fear sin and you'd change your behavior.
I love God. Duvid.
All right, bitches, I'm out. This was great. Duvid, can you give us a chant on the way out? Sing us a Hebrew song.
A Hebrew song?
Yeah.
I don't have much of a singing voice.
The Hine Matov, how good is it? Hine Matov Manoim Shavis Hakim Gam Ya Hine Matov Manoim Shavis Hakim Gam Ya Hine Matov God. How good is it for brothers to dwell together in peace and harmony?
Amen.
All right, well, good night, fellas.
All right,
Okay.
peace and harmony be upon you. Everyone go watch the Brundlecast. The link to the original streams in the comment section. Any last word?
5 hours long. Who's going to watch that shit right now?
Yeah, true. All right, good night, guys.
All right, everyone donate. Everyone should donate to the Brundle Fund. For every hat that you buy, Halsey gets half of a tanker for his vape refilled with a new flavor of juice.
Dude, I've got like 20 people here. I don't need your charity.
5% of every purchase goes to Norvin getting his medication. Another 5% of the money goes to Duvid to get another 510 cartridge.
5% goes.
See, it all works out.
5% goes to Norvin's payment plan for Medicare Part D.
Yeah, exactly. Everything works out. So I think it's a good charity to donate to. So for anyone who's listening and interested, check out the Brundlefly store. You can get yourself some fresh threads with some sort of embarrassing internet in-joke that only a few thousand people know max, that you can embarrass yourself by wearing around in public. What's not to love? Caught yourself some fresh Brundle threads. So what's on your mind tonight, Halsey?
I don't know, man. I don't really have much on my mind. It's been an interesting night, that's for sure.
Yep. I'm really excited to see that expose, that Steyer thing. That's
I've already done the first
for
two
sure.
parts, but we're just going to wrap it up on the next one. We've gotten a whole bunch more information since then, but
Definitely going to check those out after this. Haven't had a chance to see them yet.
no, they're really interesting stuff. I mean, but tonight, Joaquin really fucked up and like he just cemented a whole bunch more of it, So that's going to be interesting.
Really? Okay, interesting. Any more you can say about that here? Or
No, it's all in the chat. I mean, it was in Brundle's chat. Like he basically.
Yeah, I wasn't
saying
following
that
that close.
the link between all these people in Steyer, there's like 10 links, but one of the big ones is this woman named Samara Salazar, right? She worked for Steyer. She admits she worked for Steyer in the chat that I had with her on Discord, right? Which I screenshotted and so did she.
She was also on Verbos Tempestus.
She was on JF too. She's been all over the place. But in the chat, she was basically like, I'm trying to bring down Steyer, you know, like I've never been a white nationalist. I don't concern with people. But then she admitted that she brought Pat Little to Charlottesville. And then Joaquin tonight was like, oh, Samaria showed me the chats that you were in with her. They were creepy. And I was like, So she claimed in the chats that she was working with Laura Loomer to expose Steyer, but you know, and that she gave up on any form of white nationalism and all this stuff, but yet she's showing these chats to Joaquin, you know, of heel turn. It's kind of interesting, you know?
Yeah, but people got to make a living. So I'm going to say, okay, it is interesting, but at the end of the day, you know, you see how small the money is in these circles, and most of these people don't have independent sources of income or high education to be able to make large sums of money. So the decisions might be tainted by just a need to have income.
Oh, I didn't say it wasn't that. I don't believe that Pat Little is ideologically driven. I believe that he's more monetarily, and I mean, if you read his true
the point
story,
is making that there probably is some there is some ideology there.
The ideology is that he supports leftists. That's his thing. But the real thing is that if you read his actual story as opposed to the bullshit one he tries to tell about how red-pilled he got, he was definitely like flat broke when he embarked on his like, I'm now like Mr. Super Nazi. So I'm just saying that like he went from being flat broke, like screwed, to all of a sudden traipsing all over the country with his Jews rape kids sign and sinking balloons in the fucking San Francisco Bay. Like, I mean, listen, is it ideological? Absolutely. Because you wouldn't do that kind of thing. You wouldn't risk like ruining your life over something that you're not ideological about. But I don't believe his ideology is anti-Jew. His ideology is pro-leftist.
Yeah, but so you're saying he just Steyer actually gave him the talking points and said, he'll pay him to say bad things about Jews.
He's a lightning rod. Steyer pays him to go put his face out there in public so that people sign up for his email list, so that he'll be able to get people out at marches. All these people that are paying him to go town to town and call out the Jews. You don't think those names and amounts of money went straight to Steyer?
Well, I mean, if you document that, I have no clue. I mean, just besides your expose, my only knowledge of that is your expose. And like, I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical of him. I'm skeptical of what you're saying. Besides the fact that you did your expose and produced some evidence, so certainly there's a connection. I'm not sure if you've, at least yet, to produce enough evidence to draw your conclusions more than some sort of connection.
All I can prove 100% is that Steyer is paying these people to do it, that Pat Little is one of them, and that everything that Pat Little has said is a lie.
Is he exclusively the one paying them?
I don't know. That I don't know.
I mean, it is a minafkamine. It's a big deal whether he was saying, is he 5% of the budget, or you're saying he's 99% of the budget? And if he's if he made a donation, and but that's only a small part of the operation.
He's not making donations. This is orchestrated. I'm telling you, this is not a case of like he's just like thinking Pat Little is good, so he's making a donation. Like, Pat Little is LARPing for him. So is the GDL. We caught the GDL. The GDL basically admitted to it.
Yeah, but you don't seem to be producing evidence of it. You say that he has paid for his services multiple times, but to say that he's his guy is saying, no, I mean, he decided that this is the service, this is what he's going to do, and he's got customers, and Steyer is one of his customers, and it makes a difference how many customers if he has multiple customers, and what percentage of the business that is for the conclusions.
As I said, I'm not here to tell you the exact numbers that Pat Little is raising or anything like that. I'm just here to show you the connection. If you want to continue to trust him after that and give him your information and start marching with him in his quest to take down the global Jew, then you can. I'm not talking to you, obviously, but I'm saying anyone who wants to can knock themselves out. I'm just putting a case in front that this is where the evidence points, and if that's what you want to believe, cool. If you don't want to believe it, I don't really give a shit. It makes no difference to me. You know what I'm saying? What makes a difference to me is that he's getting people killed at this point. So I have a real issue with the fact that he's jazzing people like Robert Bowers up and getting them to believe his bullshit, and then they're running into synagogues and killing 11 people.
I mean, he did. I mean, Bowers did actually tweet little, but to show that there's a direction.
This is what I get. Wait, real quick. This is what I get.
All the things he tweeted, he tweeted hundreds of things. He only tweeted little once, and that you're saying if little wasn't around, that he wouldn't have done it.
What?
I'm saying Bowers that little was part of that calculation, and if little hadn't been out there, God forbid, that was what triggered him to do it, or saying that was just one of thousands of things, and God forbid, chances are Bowers would have done that with or without Patrick Little.
I don't know if Bowers would have done it without Patrick Little, but I'm quite certain he did it with Patrick Little. So I'm dealing in what is for sure, not what might have been.
Yeah, but obviously Patrick Little was on the stream with me, or if you had been on at that point, and generally denounces violence, and he denounced the violence specifically in that case, saying it doesn't help the cause.
Oh dear God! You know what? I'm going to read this one to you because this is really interesting. Mr. denounces violence. Hold on a sec. This is what got Pat Little got Gab kicked off of Microsoft servers. Let me just find it real quick.
Yeah, I mean, God forbid the thing about attacking a Holocaust museum. I mean, generally, I'm pretty a purist on free speech.
He was going to attack a Holocaust museum, and he said that Jews should be raised on farms so that they can be given to non-Jews for ritual torture to pay them back for all the years that they've done it. And he said that he didn't believe a farm would be able to produce enough Jews to satisfy the debt. He also has said that anyone suggesting aid to Israel should be executed. Those are violent acts. That's preaching violence. Like, you can't then say, oh, and by the way, I'm not violent. Like, when you say stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you could, because if he's openly made the statements, I mean, you could say he sends mixed signals, but if he's openly made statements denouncing violence, even though he's also made statements.
But that's like me saying, I'm going to punch you in the face, but I'm against violence.
Well, both count. I'm saying the person sent mixed signals, but the person has publicly made a declaration that that should be noted.
Oh, can I address something in the chat really quick?
You asking Babs or me?
No, I'm talking to you, so I'm asking you: is it okay if I stray off on a tangent for a second?
Yeah. I mean, certainly you ask Babs. I guess his stream.
So people are talking about Spencer in the chat. I want to just give my opinion on Spencer because everyone knows that me and Spencer don't really get along. I don't think very highly of him. He doesn't think very highly of me. But I will say this. I don't believe that Spencer is a Fed. I don't believe that Spencer is working undercover. I think that Spencer is used. I think that they make him a fall guy over and over and over again because the one thing that you can absolutely count on is whenever there's a shit show around, you can get Spencer to show up.
When but I mean, when you say they, who is the they? Do you mean the liberal media, kind of like Trump, that they?
Look at Charlottesville, right? Pat Little, Terry McAuliffe, like Charlottesville is the most obvious setup on earth. Okay, and the only people that are getting sued about it are Jason Kessler, who worked for Obama, worked for CNN. I mean, come on now. And David Duke, for some reason, turned over all of his email contacts, all of his Twitter contacts, everybody who's ever hashtagged Charlottesville, even though he's not even a defendant. And that's what they're trying to get Twitter and Facebook to do to Richard Spencer and a couple others. Now, that's right in line with why they would do something like Charlottesville, but it didn't happen fast enough. They're still fighting it in court. And as of right now, Spencer has not been, or Twitter and Facebook have not been, told by the court to submit all these things. For some reason, David Duke was told by the court by this, and he complied, even though he's not a defendant in the lawsuit. But I don't believe that Richard Spencer was an active Fed. I don't believe he was an active part in this. I think that Richard Spencer was basically a target.
Well, my interpretation, he was largely promoted by the liberal media in order to
Richard Spencer is the perfect bad guy.
Yeah, and as I mentioned on Luke Ford's show, that generally it's a common news thing where former white nationalists or neo-Nazis repent to become multiculturalist, but usually the news has to tell you who these people are because most people have never heard of them. So Richard Spencer is definitely the most famous of any form of identitarian nationalist, the only person who has national media attention like that. So you're questioning that there's multiple days and multiple forces using him.
For
so
sure.
what was the purpose of the media? After Hellgate, basically, that he was advanced every single media, and then when he went on the college tour, every media organization was basically covering him. He had a press conference like he was like a senator with like 50 newspapers and televisions like live airing his press conference, right?
We're talking about Spencer still, or Duke?
Well, Spencer.
I'm saying Spencer is the perfect bad guy.
I'm saying when you say
Spencer loves being in front of the camera. He is the perfect
so it's like
bad
Patrick Little, where there's different forces that are aligning. So there's different days using him because it's advantageous to align with him for different reasons, even though they're on the opposite side of the fence.
I mean, you don't find it odd that Patrick Little, he's openly said this, had raised exactly $3,500 for his entire Senate campaign and $2,000 for his entire presidential campaign. Never did a campaign event, never did anything except for run out in public and act like an asshole and collect people's email addresses and go visit like people basically in the alt-right and go on every single alt-right podcast he could find.
Well, people probably say the same thing about me, and I'm pretty merciful. But just talking to him tonight, he looked like he had some psychological issues. He still might be relatively high functioning.
Oh, he's definitely a fuckwit. But I'm saying,
no one thinks he ran a good campaign in that sense. No one
does.
Well, I mean, because that's one of the largest evidence that that his delusions, where he in his own head thinks differently than most other people think, or that the facts would say that he could defend any of his actions. But I mean, he is high functioning, intelligent to some level. But just speaking to him tonight, he was saying like I don't know what word that you'd classify it. If a psychologist could name a specific problem to that.
I'm just saying, all I keep saying.
Or if you believe in like evil, you think the dude is just evil, or somehow
I don't think he's evil in terms of that. I think he's like the next Hitler, which he tries to like kind of bill himself as. I think he's evil in that he knows his message really well and how to stir up crazy people. Like, is it odd that a few months before this thing happened, that all of a sudden he started talking about knowing that guy from Sweden, Breivik, that he actually wound up knowing him really well, and he was a great guy, and this is a guy who shot a whole bunch of people. You know what I'm saying? Like, Pat Little doesn't have to say you should go out and shoot people because he's afraid he'd be held responsible for that, at least civilly. You know what I'm saying? But he can go out and just say things that make people think like, oh, okay, Breivik was a patriot. He did all this great shit. But at the same time, like, he doesn't encourage people to be violent. He just lets them know that violence is the best way to get attention.
I mean, generally, my belief system is usually there's higher forces, and if it's like biblical, or like E. Michael Jones or Kevin McDonald, and just saying that, there's greater societal pressures, and Patrick Little is just a face and name to bigger forces, and if it wasn't him, it'd be somebody else, because it's just representative of the pulse in the polling of the average person in America. And there's people like Steyer and other people are throwing money around and trying to use their money to buy influence and have these crazy ideas about what's the best way to gather influence, and it might be crazy counter-espionage and government officials involved. But as I said, to me, it's just a sign of the overall climate of America and how we are as humankind getting along with each other. I don't know if you'd have such a philosophical view on it, or you just like, analyzing him as a person and just.
Hello?
Yeah, is anyone else here? Halsey cut off?
Oh, I guess Halsey's mic must have gotten disconnected or something like that. Anyway, let's see. While we wait for Halsey to sort his technical issues out.
You have such a big read on Patrick Little, or you're kind of like me, where you're just looking at greater forces, and he's at most a name and a face to align with greater forces.
Don't know. Largely an enigma to me. It seems like Halsey's internet has shut off. Anyway, I suppose unless Halsey's going to be joining us later, thank you for joining, Halsey. Everyone can go check his handle out at Halsey News. What's on your mind tonight, Duvid and Judas?
Okay, he put in the chat he might be coming back, but
I want to give Mystic teachings.
Oh, brilliant.
Guys, look at this awesome book I got. Look. It's about circumcision. Hold up. Do something.
You should have a debate with Gregory Malchuk. I'd like to see that. He's a big circumcision guy. Anti-circumcision, rather.
Circumcision is important, guys. Circumcision is a good thing.
Why do you think that?
People should circumcise their...
Should all people circumcise, or just Jews? Because it's our contract.
Only Jews are required.
Why do you think circumcision is a good thing? I'm curious.
Because the Jews are required to get a ritual circumcision.
Why is the circumcision a good thing objectively, though, for a non-Jew?
It's a... I don't know. Non-Jews aren't required to get circumcised.
well, I mean, related to what we were talking about earlier, usually it symbolizes like a circumcision of the heart, a cutting off of the desires, and saying like a person who controls their body, whose mind and
okay, I'm back. That was weird.
Is under the control of the person's intellect.
Welcome back, Mr. Halsey.
Sorry about that. That was weird.
You know, to me, I could just, it's like, okay, you're like measuring the pulse of anti-Semitism in America, and you could see, like 70,000 people voted for Patrick Little, 26,000 people voted for Arthur Jones, and you just make a general estimate of the feel of anti-Semitism in America, and whatever Patrick Little's story is, there might be quite a bit of evidence. You might be able to figure out quite a bit. There might be billionaires and government officials involved in it, and that'd be very interesting. I'm definitely going to watch your show, but personally, I didn't put too much thought into it. I just more like using him as an indicator for bigger trends.
As I said, when all's said and done, if you trust Pat Little, you do so at your own peril. Because when all's said and done, he's not helping. And the pulse of anti-Semitism, I actually want to address something else Jim said too. Number one, I don't try to take down the alt-right. I constantly say that the reason that I go after some of these people is because the alt-right has some of our best soldiers that we have. And they're being led down this retarded hole that they're never going to get out of because they're believing frauds like Pat Little and David Duke and people like that, as opposed to be done for the country. So, no, I don't want to tear down the alt-right. I want to expose the fraud of certain of their leaders. Secondly, I would be more than happy to tell AIPAC to go away forever. I just don't think it would do any good. The reason being is because AIPAC is mostly funded, and the power of AIPAC is in evangelical Christians, not Israelis. So the thing is even if AIPAC folded tomorrow, you would find the Evangelical Christian for Israel Alliance stream up tomorrow and be just as powerful.
Interesting. You're good?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're looking like a trajectory, like, okay, his running for Senate, the thing like trampling on the Israeli flag and the campaign to where he loses, and he basically becomes like a anti-Semite for hire. And then if you're, but you're saying, like that trajectory is true, but what was their conspiracy the whole time, going back to Charlottesville?
For Charlottesville, but yes.
And it's saying, is the conspiracy just money, or was it actually directed as part of a greater conspiracy? And that's what I understand if you're trying.
I don't think it's just about money. No.
But saying what part is, and you're saying this is kind of counterintuitive because you're going to try to connect it to Islamicism, and it's
I'm not connecting it to Islamicism.
Well, that was Dustin saying that.
Because we see the left as being united on all of these things. They're united in their love of Islam. They're united in their love of communism. They're They're united in their love of minority victimhood. And Pat Little has repeatedly said, I'm not alt-right. I'm not a white advocate. I don't believe in... He at one point called white people the laziest race on earth. He appeals to black people with reparations. He appeals to Muslims with anti-Israel hatred. And then people go, well, look, he got the minority vote. He did, but no white people voted for him. You know,
but I'm saying if career-wise it worked out that he turned into just an anti-Semite for hire.
Yeah, because you really think there's going to be money in that forever, that he's just going to be able to run around different towns and act like an asshole and everybody's just going to love him and pay him for it?
No, I mean, it probably has to do with like the humiliation, like what you said of losing to, Senator Feinstein when you debated him. So he's like, no, I mean, Senator Feinstein is going to destroy you. And, if it's like Paro and his heart being hardened, whatever reason, he just is continually doubling down, and he might double down, God forbid, it cost him his life to keep on doubling down, or maybe he'll change course and re-examine it. And yeah, it's applicable to say, okay, yeah, there's people funding him, helping him, and those people probably don't care about his Patrick Little's well-being. They're just using him for different things, and there might be a whole series of different people that for different reasons might be backing him and helping him for different things, and that could include Israeli conspiracy theories or anything.
I just personally have not found any evidence of anyone supporting him except for Steyer.
Yeah, but you haven't found any evidence that Steyer's directing a conspiracy, just that he's one of his backers.
No, I haven't found any evidence that he's one of his backers. I found evidence that he was recruited by Steyer and that he's fulfilling the agenda of Steyer.
So I'll be interested to see that, but you're saying that the agenda of running for president on the proposal to expel the Jew, that's Steyer's idea.
Yes, I'm saying that is absolutely true.
But you're saying that's not Steyer's idea to expel the Jews. It's Steyer's idea that he's just using that as a agent provocateur for issues like censorship and other things. But at the same time, why is he using that as issue? He presumably could have used a whole bunch of things.
What I'm saying is that, how Pat Little's whole thing is that he names the Jew? Like, he goes out there and names the Jew. He has no real platform other than naming the Jew, right? But
that's why he's basically an anti-Semite for hire.
Right, but what he's doing is he's going out and he's allowing the entire left to name the Nazi. As I said, I think one of the most telling signs is that right after this thing at the synagogue, Mr. I'm not about optics are for cucks, changed his profile on Gab to Republican. Why did he need to do that? He's running as a Democrat. He's openly said he's running as a Democrat, and he's said it since changing his profile that he's running as a Democrat. He's never announced that he's now a Republican, so why change your profile on Gab that you're now a Republican presidential candidate?
Yeah, but you run like a counter-espionage. If you say that his goal is basically simple, his goal is
to tar the right with anti-Semitism. That's why.
Yeah, he's going through this convoluted process of supporting Patrick Little to do it.
Yep. Patrick Little.
Everything that's just one of possibly thousands of things he's doing. This may have been one of relatively his bigger successes.
Yeah, I think it's one of them. I mean, I think putting Terry McAuliffe in as governor of Virginia was probably one of his biggest successes.
Well, I'm gonna say if he were just a regular campaign donor, like Sheldon Adelson is looking, okay, you're going to donate tens of millions of dollars to a super PAC, and they're going to run like stupid commercials trying to get people to vote. And Steyer's like, no, I'm going to manipulate the news and the media because it's going to be cheaper and more effective by basically not creating fake news like articles on Facebook, but actually literally creating fake news that is going to demand coverage and attention from people.
Think about this. Right after the synagogue attack, right? Steyer, Bloomberg, and Soros went on TV and said that criticizing them is the same thing as anti-Semitism. And after that, Laura Loomer got banned, I got banned, a whole bunch of people, tons of journalists got thrown off or banned from Facebook, Twitter, and every other means of social media for criticizing Soros, which was one of the best campaign articles that could ever be out for Trump right leading up to the midterms because of the caravan. because Soros was funding the caravan. And now all of a sudden we can't criticize Soros because it's anti-Semitic. That is the only one they hold, that why you can't criticize Steyer and Soros, who are funding the caravan. So mission accomplished. You know what I'm saying? They got a bunch of left-wing LARPing Nazis to come out. A whole bunch of people got killed. And now you can't criticize Soros or Steyer at all leading up to the midterms.
Well, I mean, it isn't just basic economics. Like I was mentioning, Metro Detroit, there's one extremely large foundation that is one of the major funders for almost every single Jewish organization. And there's a lot of Jewish charity, but it just happens that one foundation has hundreds of millions of dollars in it and could give tens, hundreds, or thousands, even millions of dollars to multiple causes, and will be one of the top funders for almost every organization. So with alt-right, it doesn't take that much money to do that. So George Soros obviously has billions of dollars. He could be one of the major funders for almost every left-wing movement across America, and some of them he could be funding with extremely large amounts of money, just like Sheldon Adelson could be funding hundreds of Republican candidates or the Koch brothers, and that's relatively normal. It's just like you with your super chats. That's what rich people do with their money.
What I'm saying is that when you look at these evil organizations like Haas and all of them, right? Yes, they are all multicultural. Yes, they are all open borders. Yes, they're all about bringing in every different color brown person that could possibly ever live. But they're all dedicated to doing it legally. Okay, they're into changing laws. They're into opening borders. They're into amnesties. They're into all of these things. But they're not going to risk funding a caravan of invaders that are just going to run over the border. The only person who could do that is a person who can act with impunity, which is someone like Soros or someone like Steyer.
And according to Luke Ford, they are involved in that. They're the ones who are trying to run the legal cases and file the amnesty papers. So someone like Soros,
again, that's all legal.
Could be a whole bunch
money to invade our country illegally is not legal.
Yeah, but I'm saying if Soros is and a whole combination of different people are actively funding the caravan, and Hayas and other organizations are providing legal benefit-free services to the people in the caravan.
But what I'm saying is
there might not be direct coordination, but there's alignment of interest, and it's not just Soros and Steyer. I'm saying there's probably 100 billionaires across the world that might also have aligned interest in whole nations and countries.
I get what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that the Republicans were picking up steam with the way that Trump was acting towards the caravan, right? No one's going to go, oh, look, we should vote for Democrats because Hayas is giving legal cover to the caravan. People just accept that they're shitbag Jews and that they don't hold it against them as Jews. They just hold them against them as shitbags. Okay, when it came out that Soros was the one funding it, it was pretty obvious that he was funding it, and everybody was saying, oh, it's Soros, oh, it's Soros, oh, it's Soros. All of a sudden, this synagogue attack happens, and Soros is untouchable. Criticizing Soros is anti-Semitism. Donald Trump is anti-Semitic, even though the shooter hated.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's not Soros in the sense. It's Soros in the fact that his foundation is like the biggest funder in the whole world of these leftist initiatives. But it's unlikely it's him alone. It's likely that there's other people who are doing it.
There's Steyer, there's the UN, there's
but those guys are just donors. Those guys are just donors. They're not the ones doing it. They're just the people who made a donation.
But I'm saying Soros is directly funding them to come to our border. Okay, they claimed they were economic migrants. Mexico offered them asylum and welfare benefits to stay, and they said, nope, we're only going to the States. You don't find that odd that they're only willing to settle on coming here and that all of their money to get here is being funded by Soros? And all of a sudden, just as we're picking up steam and using it as a campaign issue that, hey, these people are invading our borders, that all of a sudden the synagogue shooting happens and now you're not allowed to criticize Steyer and Soros and Bloomberg and Haas and all of them.
I watched George Soros' speech at Davos. I'm saying, it's like Steve Bannon said, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's open. These people all gave speeches at the Davos World Economic Forum. George Soros said his number one priority is disrupting Trump's agenda at Davos. But it's not uniquely him. I'm saying there's probably hundreds of billionaires that have the same mission. There's probably whole countries that have that mission. It's like, so what? Of course, that's what everybody with large sums of money does.
But what I'm saying is that the optics of it was that Soros is funding the caravan. And all of a sudden, right after the attack, Soros was the only person you weren't allowed to criticize because it was anti-Semitic. I'm not talking
I even get that on my Google chat. Just if someone types in the name Soros, my Google automatic filter will censor that, that maybe it should be deleted, just the name Soros. And yeah, I mean, it is a little odd that became the buzzword, and that's the thing that you say that gets you censored. And it just shows you the whole inefficiency and illogic of the process, and people don't really care about the truth. And
dude, right after the synagogue shooting, 100 journalists, right-wing journalists, were thrown off of Facebook. One of my writers wrote an article about it. He didn't suggest anything nefarious. He just wrote that 100 journalists were thrown off Facebook. 5 minutes after posting the article to his personal Facebook page, it was taken down by Facebook and said this is a violation of community standards.
But a lot of left-wing ones were also removed.
But I'm just saying, like, all of this points to the idea that there was a concerted effort to stop Soros from being criticized for the caravan and to blame Donald Trump for what happened in Pittsburgh. And the fact that Donald Trump was blamed, even though he, A, had nothing to do with it, and B, the guy who did it hated Donald Trump, but they're still blaming Trump, shows that there is definitely a motivation here. There's definitely something going on behind the scenes, because there's no reason why the media and everybody else would be so intent on tying this to Trump if they actually wanted to stop people from getting killed. They don't want to stop people from getting killed. They want people to be able to use this victimhood to push their left-wing agenda, and they don't give a shit how many of us get killed over it.
That may or may be, but I mean, if you're taking from conspiracy theory, you'd think
it's not a conspiracy theory. It's wide out in the open.
Yeah, so if there's just greater force, but I mean, conspiracy meaning that the people got together and actively are conspiring to force some outcome against the public, versus kind of generic interest that these things benefit people. So of course they're doing what's in their own self-interest. And the people,
how is it not a conspiracy? How is it not an actual conspiracy when you have all of the social media companies adopting the same platform and throwing everybody off, all of the news media basically coming out and saying the same line, and all of the people that are willing to say something different are getting thrown off of every single platform that they could possibly have right before an election?
Yeah, so if they had some elite special conference and they all got together and they decided the direction that they want to push policy for their mutual benefit, and that is censorship. So it's pretty all out there. We know who these people are. We know that's why it's in their interest, and we know, just like maybe Jews or any other interest group that has different bent to take different issues to push it to benefit our collective interest. And so, yeah, I mean, it's kind of blatant what's happening. So it's not surprising what you're saying, although, I mean, you have unique investigative journalists where you're exposing a fraud and you're revealing actually the actual details that people don't know about. But everything you're saying is basically in line with how most people understand how things work. I mean, from I see, at least in these circles. I mean, thank you. It's just a question of how much evidence are you producing to have a real conclusion. So we have to see. Okay, yeah, you've done some research, you've written some good articles, but really, how much evidence did you produce to make an actual case against one of these people? And I don't even think you're not even accusing Steyer of committing any crimes. You're saying, like, no, I don't think Steyer committed any crimes.
No, I think that Steyer's paying other people to go out there and drum up anger and hatred and resentment. I don't think Steyer committed a crime. No, you're not accusing him of a crime. No, because paying someone to go out and LARP as a Nazi is not a crime, even if it gets people killed. I'm saying Sheldon Adelson did it the old-fashioned way. He donated $50 million to just buy campaign ads. The way, did that too. Yeah, but you were saying he came up with this like unique way that we're going to hire actors and we're going to try. Steyer's been doing that since 2013. I mean, it's been documented by 20 different newspapers, the Washington Post being one of them, New York Times being one of them. Like, Steyer pays actors to go out and take out his political opponents. That's documented fact. That's not even an opinion. That is documented fact. You're saying that's a basic political strategy, that he's not the only one who does that, or he's taken it to a higher level. You're saying he's pushed the envelope, and if you're saying he's pushing Patrick Little, that's taking it to a much higher level than historically people have done. But it's all within like Citizens United, even, that it could reach the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court says no, Steyer's practicing free speech. Hold on one second. I'm just sharing something with you. This was in 2013, Washington Post. Cuccinelli impersonator hired by liberal super PAC causes stir at Virginia Beach Aquarium. This is when they paid the actor to act like Ken Cuccinelli to get Terry McAuliffe elected. The liberal super PAC was called Next Gen Climate. Yeah, I watched your expose. I understand that, but what I'm saying
over
is
for the people who haven't seen it yet.
The Next Gen Climate Super PAC, right? The girl who was an open organizer from them, that was on her LinkedIn, that was on everything, and has also touched all of these people that have been accused of LARP have somehow been connected to her. But at some point, she decided to start pushing Pat Little, this great candidate, into Charlottesville, into everything that no one had ever heard of before. He was a MAGA guy, and now all of a sudden, after 2 failed businesses and a scam, he's now all of a sudden Mr. I hate Jews, and he's coming out of nowhere to speak at Charlottesville. I mean, there are hundreds of white nationalists that would have spoken at Charlottesville. When Pat Little showed up there, no one had any idea who the hell he was. But Steyer's girl put him there. And then look what happened at Charlottesville. You know what I'm saying? Exactly what they tried to do with Cuccinelli, exactly what they've done since then. And they've openly admitted that they pay actors to do this kind of shit. Okay, they paid a whole group of homeowners that were angry about some kind of fracking that was going on in Virginia. So they paid a whole bunch of people to pretend to be the homeowners. You know, I have pictures of it.
Yeah, I believe in transparency, and I definitely support what you're doing as an investigative journalist exposing fraud or whatever. But to me, it's like, okay, yeah, of course, that's how it works. You know, people are trying to change the culture. My rabbi in the local synagogue here was talking about that, the sermon Sabbath. You know, we have to change the culture here in America. And so people who have large sums of money are looking at, okay, their goal is to change the culture in America, and they're looking at the methods they could use to do it. And you know, what you're exposing is one of these methods that wealthy people and other people use to try to influence culture in America, and you know, it's interesting. But
no, I'm an equal opportunity hater. I'm not just exposing Steyer and Little for doing this. I'm exposing the Jews that are doing it too.
I mean,
there are plenty of Jewish groups out there that love to be my fellow white people whenever they would decide to criticize white people for something. But then all of a sudden it's my fellow Jews whenever they want to talk about Jews and get them to follow their shitlib ways. So I literally go out every day and try to expose that as well amongst the organizations and just the individuals. And what I'm saying is that all of these people add up to one thing, which is a cultural Marxist takeover of America. And I keep saying it, we're getting to the point where there's going to be blood in the streets. There's already been enough people killed over this. We don't want to go into civil war. And the reason
there's more factors. I mean, there's no reason to simplify it like that. There's so many different factors and so many different interests at play here that, you know, just to try to simplify it like that, I don't even know if that's beneficial.
The simplification is easy because that's just common knowledge. I mean, the way that they're playing this game, they have Antifa running out, beating the shit out of people. They're chasing journalists down in their own homes. They're attacking people in restaurants. They're doing everything they possibly can. And at the same time, they're telling the victims that it's their fault. Why? Because sooner or later, when the victims decide to fight back, you don't believe they're going to tell the government, hey, you got to react. The Nazis are here. They're coming for us. You don't think there would be enormous pressure on Trump to send in the police or the army if all of a sudden a bunch of white people decided to fight back against getting killed? I guarantee you they would. That's what they're hoping, is they're hoping that the government will be on their side.
Yeah, or that they could have some sort of like hostile takeover of the government that they could, you know, God forbid, create so much chaos. They can't do a
hostile takeover of the government per se because they don't have the guns and they don't have the territory. It's very easy to maintain power. It's very hard to project power. Okay?
Yeah, it wouldn't be like a violent takeover. It's saying that just the government would fail and there'd be no choice but to hand the power over to these people because they're successfully maintaining their private empires or business corporate interest, that the government would just be put in charge of the corporations.
Their goal, if not to bloody us...
The corporations would just take over government.
Think about this. If the GDL is successful in their doxing of thousands of people, and Pat Little is successful in putting all these people out there marching in the streets for Nazism and all that, do you think these people are going to be able to be politically powerful ever? They're never going to be able to get a job again. They're going to be shunned by the majority of society, and they will force the president to disavow them to a point where they are literally just outcasts of society. These outcasts of society,
you're talking about...
I don't believe that balkanization...
You're talking about your deplorables where there's elements, large enough elements of society that even though they might be blacked out of large elements in our institutions, but because 5, 10, 15, 20% of the population agree with them, that no, they're not going to be able to be alienated and ostracized, and they're still going to be able to have a decent existence and they're organizing more and more, and there will be power in numbers, even if there's no money behind it right now. There's no political power, but as the numbers keep on increasing and as they're connected with each other, that will eventually be able to turn into power.
It's also, think about it this way, right? White people in general in the country, right? Or let's just say right-wingers. Fuck just saying white people. But let's say right-wingers, right? Have no desire whatsoever to turn New York City, San Francisco, and LA red. They're not trying. They're not even putting $1 into campaigns in blue states where they have no chance, right? But yet the blue states, the blue countries, the blue areas are putting everything they've got into taking over as many red states as they possibly can. That's why everybody is all about free university. That's why everybody is all about, the cities matter. The electoral college is bullshit. All of this stuff that they do, because in the end of the day, they want a takeover of the whole country, and they're willing to use force, and they're willing to use coercion, and they're willing to enslave people to do it. They've done it for how many years in the inner cities with the black population?
You're using these vague days, and it's like the Islamicism. So yeah.
Hold on real quick. I don't understand your question. What's my criticism of Nazis behind the God forbid racism? I don't understand the question.
Well, I say your vague days, and not the Nazis, is saying the Islamicists. And it's like, at all of our unity rallies, coalition of minorities, we have these imams there, and all of these imams, very conservative, from the Middle East, studied in the Middle East, come from Iran, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia, but they're part of our liberal coalition of minorities because interests co-align in politics. And then,
the majority of right-wingers just want to be left alone. The majority of left-wingers want to take over the majority of right-wingers. That's why they're interjecting the LGBT agenda into the schools. That's why they're trying like hell to have integrated bathrooms and all of this shit. I mean, what society has ever gotten together and said that when your kid says, "Oh, I really feel like a girl," they encourage them to sterilize themselves by chopping their genitals off?
Yeah, but it's an alignment. It's an alignment of mutual interest, and that's why Islamicist imams from countries where people like that get executed are supporting it here in America, because whatever the alignment of interest makes it that they need to team up with the coalition of minorities. So here in America, extremist Muslims are defending homosexual rights.
What I'm saying is that the white people in this country, or let's just say the right wing in this country, would probably settle for balkanization. The left wing in this country will only settle for total control. And that is an established fact. There's absolutely no evidence to the contrary that is true. There's no evidence to the contrary that left-wingers want to be left alone, that they want to just control their own areas, that they just want to have their own states. They would not accept balkanization, because in their mind, all of the Midwest, where all the food is grown, and all of the farm places and all of the places where the factories are and all of that, they don't want those to be in the middle of liberal shithole cities. They're not going to make any money that way. They're not going to make any money promising $15 an hour without bringing in illegals to work for $3.
It's like Norman. It's like you were telling Norman. You're really giving like childish interpretations of political science. There's so many different factors at play, and there's so many different issues that you could agree be on the right or left of multiple different issues, and people choosing to be on the right or left.
I'm not talking about specific issues like abortion.
There's rational reasons.
Like I'm talking about political control.
Right. And people have different interests and reasons that might make them more likely to be on one side or the other.
Have you ever seen leftists?
We're assuming that both actors are rational.
No, both actors are not rational. Leftists walk in lockstep with each other. They believe that the means justifies the end. The end is socialism, and that's what they all believe in. Even the middle of the road ones still vote for Nancy Pelosi as speaker.
So you're agreeing that they're rational then?
Oh yes, their goal is a socialist takeover of a country that inherently and instinctively rejects socialism. That is what they're going for. Right-wingers just want to be left alone. That's why they keep electing people like Donald Trump and these different congressional people, and that's why we get in support of Kavanaugh, because we just want to be left alone. We don't want to know that our daughters can go get an abortion at 13 and that the doctor doesn't even have to let us know what's going on. Nobody wants to know that the men with guns are going to show up to your door and take your kids away because your kid said he wants to chop his penis off and take puberty blockers at 11 years old. And you said, no, you'll have to wait till you're 18 to make some kind of decision like that. Like, these are things that are happening right now. They are literally coming for your family. They're coming for your property, and they're coming with one goal: to establish a socialist, non-bordered America. That is what they want. They openly say it constantly, and they're walking in lockstep with each other. Meanwhile, the right wing can't stop criticizing each other for 5 seconds because all we want is to be left the hell alone to raise our families the hell we want.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's my advantage of being an independent scholar and not voting, because you're not really being intellectually just the facts. I mean, you're purposely using hyperbole and saying what's happening in a way to like win people over to your side, as opposed to objectively analyzing the political science of what's going on and the rationality of why different groups make different decisions on these issues. And maybe you're capable of thinking that way, but you're just so much into commentary that it pays for you to try to politicize and purposely frame what you're saying to you try to win people over to the right, as opposed to you just sort of say truth seeking.
I literally have no illusion that I can win people over to the right. I believe the left is so far gone that they are beyond any reproach in terms of going back to the right. What I think is that they can be convinced that there's a middle ground, that they can possibly live in their areas and have their own bullshit and leave us to our own. But what I've said always is that I'm not issuing a call for unity. I'm issuing a warning. I'm saying
individual, just the fact that you're using these words ours. So I mean, it's like, okay, you're an individualist and just want to be left alone, but then who's this we? Who's this our? If you're such an individualist, you're we and our is the
wars aren't fought by individuals; they're fought by armies. But when the war is done being fought, the individuals go back to their farms and their cities and their towns and everything else. There are times when you have to band together, and what I'm saying is that we should be prepared for it. Otherwise, we'll just be kicking the can down the road a tiny little bit and leaving it to our kids.
Yeah, I really just don't look at like two-sided. Like there's one universal brotherhood of man. There's not, like if you get like the George Bush side, there's, two different sides and you got to choose a side. It's not really how I look at things.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not telling you that you have to look at things any differently or any the same as me do it. In fact, I'm not trying to tell anybody that they have to look at things the way that I do. What I'm saying is, here's the evidence. You can interpret it the way that you want. And I've been a journalist for 20 years. I would never go to press with something that I can get sued and lose my whole entire life over. And accusing a billionaire of funding someone like Pat Little is definitely one of those things. I would not go to press unless I was fairly confident that I could survive a slander lawsuit. Okay, I am perfectly comfortable coming out and saying that I have more than enough evidence to say there is a connection between Steyer and Little. Okay, where we go from there, I don't know. Do I want to say that Steyer paid Little to get someone killed? I don't think he did. I think he knew this would happen. And I think
the difference with being an independent journalist versus having political motives, and it may not be connected. Just okay, you did investigative journalist, and you have a legitimate fact finding that you've demonstrated something worthy of the attention of the public, but at the same time, it also aligns with your political interest, and therefore that discredits part of your evidence in your story, the fact that your story aligns with your political interests.
But my story doesn't align with my political interests. My story aligns with the fact that people are going to get killed. It's not my interest that people get killed. I don't want people to get killed. I want people to not get killed.
It's a loose correlation. And so and even just someone give you a basic criticism is you're basically scaremongering for no reason. You're saying, no, people aren't about to get killed. And saying, like, what are you talking about? Like, come on, like, don't be ridiculous. You were at the precipice where you're like, people are about to get killed, and that's all of a sudden you win people over to understanding the issue.
I'm not saying
I understand.
I'm saying they have been killed.
Yeah, I understand why it may let's say raise eyebrows if someone's opinions are, or if what someone is asserting, or an idea that someone is pushing, or a narrative that someone is pushing, does line up with, let's say, their political ideologies, or would be advantageous to them for whatever reason. But I'm not sure that necessarily inherently discredits something. I mean, why would it necessarily inherently discredit something?
It just
someone
shows
could be
bias.
Yes. I mean, it may be biased, but I mean, people are. Isn't everything to some degree driven by bias? Like professors are biased to teach in the areas that they prefer to teach in.
You know, I'm literally eating popcorn, by the way. I have been for a while now. It's absolutely delicious. So
I'm saying
really
because Halsey appears to be connecting two different things. He's saying, okay, here's my great story, here's my great investigative research, and he also has, here's my general vision of what's happening in America, and it's unclear like what's the connection between your research and your professional media journalism and the worldview that you're promoting on these streams.
I don't see the connection between the two. In fact, if you'll notice, I don't talk about Pat Little all that much unless Pat Little comes out from under his rock to infect somebody and start talking. Like, I mean, I don't give a shit about Pat Little at all 90% of the time. In fact, I barely even talk about him. What I talk about is what's going on with the left in this country, and I don't think that Pat Little commands an army. I think that Pat Little is a fucking pathetic loser. Okay, I don't think that Pat Little is doing anything that's all that big. What I think Pat Little is just a tool of the people who are doing the big things, and that's what I talk about constantly is Steyer and Soros, because I firmly believe that if Trump doesn't move against Steyer and Soros and Clinton and all of these criminals that have just made the rule of law a mockery in this country, that we're in deep trouble.
Yeah, these people are willing to put they're willing to put their fellow Hebrews on the sacrificial altar to accomplish their silly political ambitions. That's not cool, you know?
I mean, dude, Bloomberg's kids aren't Jewish. He's raising them as non-Jews. Soros has often said that he hates Judaism. Steyer was raised an Episcopalian, but all three of them came on TV right after the synagogue shooting and said criticizing us as anti-Semitism. I mean,
but all three of them, their interests align, and hence they work together jointly on these issues.
And if you look at what the three issues are that they align on, one is pro-environment, pro-global warming regulation, the other one is anti-gun, and the other one is pro-open borders. They are literally the communist trifecta.
Yeah, they're probably from the biggest donors for hundreds, maybe thousands of organizations on those issues. But to some extent, saying like, okay, you're a balabus, you're a kavir, I'm more like you're like a yeshiva boy, a rabbinic student. And so when you're okay, donors are replaceable. This guy doesn't want to give. You'll find another guy who wants to give. And if you're a donor, it's like rabbis are replaceable. You'll just find another Moistus institution to give your money to. And so both factors are
Goodness, right?
But you're saying I'm saying that Soros and Bloomberg and Steyer are replaceable. That these are major issues, and if it wasn't them giving the money, it'd be someone else giving the money.
No, it wouldn't be, because Soros put $18 billion aside to spend on social policy over the next few years.
Well, he's just rich. I'm saying there's other people.
Got $2 billion. Bloomberg's got $20 billion. All of the Jewish organizations in America don't have that kind of money. Okay, they don't have over $100 billion like at their disposal to just spend as they will. Not to mention, if you're like Agudas or the Orthodox Union, your books can be audited. Like you can go to individual donors and say, why do you want to be a part of this? But when you're dealing with someone like Soros, Steyer, and Bloomberg, their own will is all that matters because they have the money to enforce their own will.
Yeah, I was a day trader. Like I know the mentality, and I'm just saying, like, yeah, I'm saying they think like any hedge fund or operator or investor that it's a mindset of that, and I don't think it's specific to these people. And yeah, that's like there might be something about them being Jewish and the Jewish mindset that we are involved in these fields, and it makes sense that some of the people at the head of doing this are Jews. But yeah, I mean that's why I say if it wasn't Soros, if it wasn't Bloomberg, it'd probably be somebody else. There's lines and lines of people waiting to be those guys.
Yeah, but there's not lines and lines of people with 20 billion, 18 billion, and $4 billion net worth.
Yeah, but they're growing. I'm saying like just here in Detroit, like Dan Gilbert or something, like the billions. His net worth, Cohn, or there's a lot of hedge fund operators, and 5 years later, it's like, no, this guy's got like $20 billion now. It's like, oh, I never heard of him because he was just one of hundreds and hundreds of hedge fund operators.
Hold on 1 second. I'll be right back.
And you're just the interest of someone in the financial field, open borders, anti-gun, if censorship or something. Yeah, be like. Is it the fact that they're financial people, hedge fund operators, that's their issues, and certain connection between diversity and corporation and what's best for business, which I've argued just in favor of multiculturalism. It's true, it works. There's a reason why big business favors multiculturalism, because it's good for business, and that's why these people are supporting these causes. Anyone else here? So, reading some of the chat in the meantime. But yeah, I think these things operate in certain systematic ways, and it's not necessarily surprising. And these people who obviously built up huge businesses like President Trump, George Soros, Bloomberg, they know the law. They have teams of lawyers. It's like Citizens United, that money is their form of speech. So these people have built up the huge businesses and have large bank accounts. This is the method that they use to amplify their speech, and it should be no surprise. So it's just like, I don't know what your opinion on Citizens United. Should George Soros be allowed to use his money to fund the caravan? And like, yeah, why not? There should be a law against it. He should have his money confiscated. He shouldn't be able to fund what he believes in, and he's probably not breaking any laws. That's probably why he's doing it. But yeah, I appreciate Halsey and his investigative journalism. I'll read through that, and these connections are always interesting when they come out. And if anyone's involved, like fundraising, as we're talking about, people on the alt-right are basically begging chump change. JF, very successful show, might get a few $100s in super chat, and even that's not chump change, but like relatively, he's probably raking in more than any of them, and the people below him are basically begging chump change. So that's the nature of funding, and just like the JQ. Put yourself in the other person's shoe. How would you look at it if you were them? And how would you look at it if you were a wealthy businessman? You were trying to use your money as a form of speech in order to influence the world.
What I'm saying though is that at some point, I don't know what you just were saying. I had to take off.
I was just monologuing because I saw you got disconnected.
I didn't get disconnected. I had to talk to my wife real quick. But what I'm saying is I didn't hear what you were saying. But when you look at someone like JF, or you look at someone like even David Duke or Richard Spencer, any of them wanting to use their money in terms of speech,
Well, I was just saying the nature of donating money in either being a charity collector and relying on other people at charity, or having money and trying to gain influence by making donations. And I was comparing the streams, and we're basically the major figures in the alt-right are basically all begging chump change. That they're basically all close to broke, and let alone that's how it works. That's like any rabbi trying to build up a synagogue, or anybody trying to make an institute, you need your donor base, and there's a certain way that you have to act to raise money, and people like Soros and these hedge fund operators, there's a reason why they support open borders and gun control and these different things, and I think it's more connected to their personal interests.
What I'm saying to you is that when you have someone like you said, JF, or these alt-right people that, as you say, are making chump change, the whole point of what they want to do is they want to throw their voice into the mix because they see a problem that needs to be addressed, and they just want to be able to do it full time. They want to be able to address these issues, and they want to be able to talk about these issues and try to come up with solutions. People like Steyer and Bloomberg and Soros are actively pursuing a radical agenda and funding it throughout the states. They're funding all of these types of subversion that the American people generally don't support. They don't support in plain open borders. They don't support abortion on demand. They definitely...
just to pilpul your words there, they're using their money as speech, like Citizens United, to amplify their voice and try to change the culture of America. And I'm saying, is it subversive? You're saying, is there something uniquely subversive about it?
Sure.
Or no, they're just using money as speech.
Money as speech, I have no problem with. I would have literally no problem with money as speech. But when you're influencing elections by paying impersonators to come pretend to be a political candidate, that's influencing an election.
When you might be saying that's just a derivative of money as speech.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not.
Well, let's see if it hits the courts. I mean, saying if you're accusing him, but saying that that might actually reach the courts.
I'm saying it very well could one day. But what I'm also saying is that when you're paying illegal invaders to come over the border, that's different than supporting illegal immigrants that are here. There are different things that are speech, and there are different things that are a vote of overt acts of sedition.
Yeah, but if there was some priest or immigrant organization operating in Central America that I want to really show America their policies wrong, and we're gonna help create this organization, and they pitched it to George Soros, and George Soros yeah, great, here's $5 million. I mean, saying that probably you think he went right into George Soros's New York office and pitched his caravan idea, and then he walked out with a check.
No, I think that George Soros said we're going to be having some caravans coming here because we're going to show people that open borders are the way to go, and what they're doing is funding illegal immigrants storming the borders.
Also, I just want to say, funding free speech. Funding speech, yes, but funding libelous or slanderous or impersonatory speech those are illegal types of speech, which can be, challenged in court. So I still don't think that even with the sort of money as speech thing, I still don't think that it's quite above board to be impersonating someone, if that's the act in question. Literally impersonating a political candidate who's currently in the process of campaigning, like attempting to be them. Well, I mean, I think it would have to be decided. Is this an impersonation? Is this being done for satirical reasons? Is this being done with the express intent of trying to portray this person in a negative light and fool people?
We have the emails. They told the people who were doing it. We have the emails. They told the people that were doing it that their goal was to injure Cuccinelli if he got elected, or knock him out of the national race to clear the way for Hillary because he was expected to run for president. They said their goal was to injure him and to possibly even win the election. They didn't believe that Terry McAuliffe was actually going to win. They just believed that they were going to injure Cuccinelli to the point where he can aspire to any higher office.
Yeah, so it's all very interesting. And
dude, I have an email where the actors wrote to NextGen and said, "Listen, last night when you told us to turn up and make this little video, that the cops showed up and they said we're not doing this again unless you agree to cover all of our legal bills and to cover our daily rate every single day if we happen to be arrested." Literally, they wrote back, "Sure, no problem, we agree."
Yeah, I saw that. I mean, it's like
a normal organization say, "Wait a minute, what are you doing that's illegal?" And no, they wouldn't agree to pay legal fees of somebody that's going out and breaking the law.
But are you implying that there's something wrong with the system, or are you saying this is just a logical extension of the system and people trying to purchase influence with their money, and there's a certain borderline where people might be breaking the law, or at least it just should be transparent and people should know? But I mean, there's no certain conspiracy or the connection between Soros and anti-Semitism is even that you're saying that's somewhat legitimate.
What I'm saying is that there's a line, and there's a difference between funding political speech, and there's a difference between fraudulently influencing elections.
You're saying is Patrick Little the line, or you're saying he's touching the line, or just that gap thing? Besides that one gap thing comment, basically he's been within the line.
No, I think that Patrick Little is hired to do a job, and Patrick Little is doing it. That is not illegal. Okay, I think what's illegal is what Steyer's plans are for people that follow Patrick Little and for the goal of what Patrick Little is doing. Now, is Patrick Little complicit? I don't know. I don't know if he has conversations with Steyer of, I can't wait to fuck over these people. It could be. I don't know. But my investigation hasn't turned up any conversations between Steyer and Little as to what the grand goal is. I would guarantee you Steyer's not that stupid.
Even if everything that you are saying is true, you're still not accusing these people of committing any crimes. You're saying it was kind of underhanded and subversive and not so nice, but it was perfectly legal.
Yeah, basically. I mean, civilly, you might be responsible. You could prove that a conspiracy existed which caused people to get killed. You might be able to hold them civilly liable, but no, I don't believe there's a crime committed.
Yeah, but I used to, I remember this Israeli charity collector, and he's saying in Yiddish, like joking, he said, like, "Mir verkauft Covid." we sell people honor. Basically people donate to the the Maestros, the institution, but really what they want to do is purchase honor for themselves, and that's how you raise money, by putting the big donor in front of a crowd, or even it's like reading super chats and whatever the method. That to some extent the reason the person gives money to the cause is not because really they want to help the cause, it's that they desire to be honored and praised, and that's the method that they're using to achieve that. And if you just kind of accept that as a given, that's just how the system's functioning, and you're not really saying it's just okay, and so this is just the current operation of the system. These are the people who have the money, and they're trying to exert influence and aggrandize themselves with it. And sometimes it might work, and the majority of the time it probably fails.
Can you please repeat that?
Well, I was saying the nature of this is what people with money do. They try to exert influence and increase their reputation by being praised and well liked in the community. And on a bigger scale, if someone like George Soros has a vision for the world and he's got deep pockets, and he might be able to fund a caravan. That's huge. I mean, I doubt it's just him. I assume there's many parties involved in that. And, it's saying Luke, if he's right, Highest is involved in it. And there's hundreds of people involved in it. The Catholic Church might be involved in it. The Mexican government might be involved in it.
Okay, so you're saying that them working with the Mexican government or the Catholic Church is not illegal?
Well, it may not be. I'm saying they're interested. They're testing the law. They're testing the will of the president. They're testing the army. And God forbid, it could be they're pushing some buttons, and people might, God forbid, start getting killed. But it's important because immigration's a big issue, and the forces aligned together for it are teaming up on behalf of the caravan. And you're seeing that's probably CNN, that's probably MSNBC, that's probably a lot of people that are basically in on it with the caravan.
Being in on it in support is different than encouraging them to invade the country. There's a big difference. The people that are supporting them started supporting them after they already left, and they're making up a narrative that just gives them pure motive, but no one's arguing that what they're doing is illegal. But the people that put them up to it in the first place, what do you think? 7,000 people got together and said, I have a great idea. Let's walk to America. It requires organization. It requires money. And
so, I mean, it's really comparable to Gaza, the situation there with the weekly march. There's probably hundreds of thousands of extremely desperate people that are living in constant fear of death or horrible things happening to them, that they were willing to join this caravan and march to America, even though it might cost them their life.
There's a big difference between a group of people that's living in an area the size of a city. You can easily organize 7,000 people in that type of area. We're talking about 3 countries that everyone got together and organized and started walking. All of them have a great pair of shoes. All of them seem to have some money, and all of them are turning down offers of assistance from other countries. So their goal is obvious. Their goal is to get here illegally. And the people who paid them to do it are encouraging people to break the law. They are actually breaking the law. The people that support them coming here, that say, oh, I think it would be awesome if they raid the border and come here. That there's nothing illegal about expressing an opinion. There's nothing illegal about sticking up for them. What's illegal is encouraging them to do it by paying them to come here and telling them to turn down all forms of assistance, and that the whole point is to egg on the army to shoot them.
Well, that's like the same with Macron and Merkel. I mean, it's basically saying it's a game of chicken, and we're going to see it, and saying there's a lot of powerful people that think that they're not going to be able to stop this caravan, and they're going to back it. And the people in the caravan, whether being desperate because they know they might be risking their life to do it, but they feel that either God's going to help them, or whatever their life is so difficult that if God forbid they die, it was worth it anyways. Or that the international people are like, look, we got Soros, and who knows who they have on their side. Let's say they have Merkel and Macron and hundreds of powerful people all over the world who are basically on the side of the caravan.
So you're basically saying that foreign governments are supporting the caravan raiding our border?
I don't have any direct evidence. I'm just saying that people that their self-interest would probably make it more likely for them to be on the side of the caravan than on the side of President Trump.
Yeah, but I'm saying
a lot of people in America. That includes a lot of people internationally.
There's a big difference between them saying, hey, I think what the caravan is doing is awesome and borders suck, and actively supporting them. If they're actively supporting them, that's an act of war.
Yeah, I mean, so the formation of mass movements. So it's like, okay, there might have been one organizer who was able to get a few hundred people to start walking, and he might have been a local who only spoke the native language and didn't have international connections. And it's just like Patrick Little, we were talking about Dustin. Did they find the guy and decide to back him, or did they create the guy?
I personally don't know the answer to that. I can speculate, but that's the best I can do.
Yeah, but it's a parallel to the caravan. Saying like, okay, it's not. I don't think Soros created the caravan. I think he found that there are probably a lot of people trying to do that. The caravan's not a new idea. They've done it before, and it was just a question to him who's the most likely to be able to succeed at doing it, so that he's shrewd in his charity giving, he's shrewd in his investment. He doesn't want to waste money, and presumably Bloomberg and Steyer and all these people think like that. They didn't become rich by being dumb with money, and they're looking to exert the largest influence possible with the smallest investment.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is if I pay people to go to the Capitol and protest, right? It's sleazy, but it's not illegal. If I pay people to go to the Capitol with bombs to blow it up, then I'm complicit and I've broken the law.
Did you watch the Al Jazeera expose that just came out this week on the Israel lobby in America?
I don't watch Al Jazeera, no.
I mean, they had like a year ago the expose about in London, where it was actually the same guy who went undercover, a Jewish student from London, and then he did it in New York, and he exposes like AIPAC and Stand By Us. But I mean, he exposes. This was for Israel people working with for like different New Israel. I forget the exact ones, but they're basically being paid to protest. They're saying that Israel, the Israeli government, and different organizations, and you're saying, yeah, that's a known technique, just like Steyer and any of these people. They're saying Israel also does the same thing. Will pay people to protest.
I don't have a problem with paying people to protest. I keep telling you that.
Okay, I mean, it was big news. I was thinking to ask you anyways, but yeah, I watched all 4 parts of the recent, and they did this African American guy who was mentioning that like astroturfing. He was explaining the concept of astroturfing. He was saying like, yeah, like I cost $50,000 a year plus benefits to be here on the front line, going to protest on behalf of Israel.
Okay, what's the problem with that? I mean, if he wants to protest and he wants to accept money for it, there's no problem with accepting money to protest. I mean, it's sleazy, but it's not illegal by far. But
the degree that Patrick Little is basically the same thing. He was like, it's kind of sleazy. The degree.
Keep coming back to this. I keep telling you, I don't think what Patrick Little's doing is illegal. I think it's immoral.
But with the Israel thing, that's a different degree, or they think that's also immoral. The fact that Israel's paying people to protest on their behalf.
Didn't I just say it was sleazy? I mean, it's sleazy and immoral to me is the same thing. If you're paying people to protest, it's sleazy. It's immoral. Okay, because you're basically drumming up opposition that isn't actually there. You're just trying to further an agenda. I think it's a little subversive, but I don't think it's illegal. But I think when you pay people to go hurt other people, when you pay people to break laws specifically that are on the books to prove that those laws are bullshit, then you're crossing the line from just using your money for speech to using your money to subvert governments of the people.
Yeah, but scrupulously honest and transparent versus means to end. So my goal is to influence policy and exert power, and you'll be well liked in the public, and people say, okay, we'll use dishonest means, we'll use paid actors and subversion. Or people like, no, I mean, if I'm going to do it, I want to do it in the honest way and truly win the heart of the public debate. And yeah, most people are, God forbid, we're going to use corrupted methods, and so it's even like by Nafka, like, of course, like Cenk Uygur is like, of course, why wouldn't someone say that to what you're exposing?
Why wouldn't someone say that it's not illegal? It's just sleazy.
Well, just say like, of course, like that's human nature. Like, of course, that's what they're doing.
That's fine. I don't have a problem with people saying that. I'm just presenting information. I'm not saying anyone should do anything about it. If I was saying something should do something about it, I'd say you should go kick Pat Little's ass or shoot him in the face or something. I'm not saying you should do anything to Pat Little. I'm just saying if you're actually counting on him to have your back and that this is what he's actually doing, that I don't believe that's what he is actually doing. I think he's playing you. So I'm not saying what he's doing is illegal. I'm just saying he's a shitbag for what he is doing.
Yeah, but who's your audience? Norvin? You're saying like the few people, like the people like you, like in case Norvin like was in love with Pat Little, you're trying to change his mind on that. Like who are you trying to talk to?
I'm trying to talk to the people that might get so red-pilled that they walk into a synagogue and kill 11 people. I'm talking about the people who think that memeing online is funny behind an Anon account that might get exposed one day and not be able to get work.
So I mean, you agree with E. Michael Jones, because E. Michael Jones, even though he has conspiratorial, maybe negative opinions about Jews,
I honestly don't know who that is. I heard you guys talking about him earlier, but I really don't know who that is.
He's a Catholic scholar. He's written like thousands of pages of books, but he's like the old school against Vatican II. And yeah, but either he denounces violence against Jews, and after Pittsburgh, he kind of gave this moralistic argument like, well, of course people don't like Jews, and of course the Jews are causing their own problems with bad policies, and some crazy guy tried to kill him. However, if they hadn't censored so much, maybe someone like Bowers would have tuned in to Michael Jones, spoke to him, and Jones would have told him, don't resort to violence. Violence isn't going to help. But because of all the censorship, he hasn't heard that these people actually denounce violence, and that even though they agree with him that Jews might be behind immigration and highest, and that's true and true, but they would have talked him out of doing a terrorist act.
What I'm saying is that if tomorrow, let's say everything that they've ever said about Jews being subversive in migration to Europe is true, right? And tomorrow Europe got together and said, screw this place, we're going to throw out every single Jew, right? Is that going to stop the Catholic Church from being subversive and encouraging migration? Because they're spending billions on migration. So what I'm saying is how often can you keep stopping people from influencing the migrants before you just stop the migrants?
Well, I was just saying over E. Michael Jones' point that he's getting censored. I can't comment on it
because I really don't know who he is. So I can't comment on it.
He's getting censored just because he has very critical views of Jews, although he completely denounces violence.
I don't believe that
the point is because he's preemptively already gotten censored, that people like Bowers would be listening to him, but because he's gotten censored, they can't even listen to him, and therefore, basically, he's saying censorship is the cause of this.
What I'm saying is that being censored means that Bowers had one avenue to listen to people like Pat Little, and that was Gab. And that's the one place where not that many people are looking because they've been censored off the App Store, they've been censored off the Google Store, right? That means these things get discussed in secret. They get discussed in a back corner somewhere where no one's paying any attention. If Bowers is putting social media posts up that says, screw the optics, I'm going in, if he was on Facebook, Twitter, and a whole bunch of other places, I guarantee you a lot of people would have seen it. Maybe someone would have done something about it. You know what I'm saying? But because we censored the shit out of Pat Little, we basically made him hide in the corner, and now he's just able to infect people when no one's watching. So I personally, I told you, I'm a free speech absolutist. I believe that everybody should be able to. When I debated Mike Enoch, it was the first thing I said to him. I don't want to silence you. I want to give you a bigger microphone. I think you're so fucking retarded. I just want more people to hear what you have to say, because I believe that when people hear what you have to say, they're going to look at you for the retard that you are. That's my belief, and I'm more than willing to put my money where my mouth is. That's what I believe. I want him to have a bigger microphone. I hate the fact that he gets thrown off of Twitter. I hate the fact that Eric Stryker gets thrown off of Twitter.
That's in your income bracket, but if you were in a higher income bracket, or like a hedge fund manager or something like that, you would think that for whatever reason these guys are actually all favoring censorship. That the extremely big money is aligning behind censorship.
What?
But at the same time, the bigger forces that be like, Google, Facebook, Silicon Valley, hedge fund operators, Soros, Bloomberg, these people are actually seem to be aligning behind censorship.
Well, the social media companies, I mean, I have my own opinion on them. I believe that they're atoning. I don't believe that they're think about it. When they started Facebook, when they started Twitter, when they started all these companies, they were all sounding just like Gab. This is a place that's going to liberate humanity. It's everybody's going to be able to connect on a social platform and discuss ideas and debate things and all of that. Then Hillary Clinton lost, and they were losing their place at the wine and cheese party down the street because everybody blamed Twitter and Facebook and all of them for Hillary's loss. They all said it's their fault. They were the ones who empowered Donald Trump. They're the ones who allowed the Russians to meddle. They allowed all of this shit. So they're going on the opposite track. Now they're saying free speech is bad. Oops, we made a mistake. And they're censoring the fuck out of everybody, and it's not helping. It's doing the exact opposite of what they would hope it would do.
I mean, you don't think it's just power corrupting naturally, and that it's in their best interest for the key players in these markets and social media and technology and government and Wall Street to come together and censor everybody, and they just can't resist the power grab?
What I'm saying is that I've never met someone in a flyover state, and I've been to plenty of them, that wants to go into San Francisco and make it red by force if necessary. Right? I have yet to meet the liberal who does not want to go into all these racist, sexist, homophobic, Islamophobic places and make them blue. They want them to stop thinking these things. They want them to stop being this way. Like when they tried to get transsexual bathrooms approved, that was in North Carolina. They didn't do that in San Francisco. They didn't do it in New Jersey or New York. They went after them in North Carolina. They went after them in Virginia. Like, their goal is to transform society, and it's their right to do so. I'm not saying it's not. But what I'm saying is the political ideology behind it is much different.
Yeah, I mean, I like to, to pull it out and try to look at the different interest group and what the different interest groups.
Renee, fuck if I know.
Yeah, I might call it a night. Been a good talk. I don't know. Is Babs still here?
Babs is still here. He's chomping on his popcorn, watching.
Oh, I'm still here. I'm literally eating popcorn. Here, I'll show you what it is. It's actually quite an exotic popcorn we're enjoying tonight. Sorry, one moment. Let me cue up my camera.
Dude, I think we're going to hear a lot more information. I'm saying you're doing your work, but yeah, it could be that it could be a lot more information is about to be released, or God forbid, it could be the push the other way. The drive for censorship might win.
What I'm saying is that we both present a point of view, right? And your point of view is that America should be a land of refuge. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not faulting you for it. I'm just saying that that's your point of view, right? You don't have a problem with open borders. You don't have a problem with mass migration. You think that these are all values that, whether you think they're Jewish, whether you think they're American, regardless, you believe that America is a land of refuge. Okay.
No, I didn't say land of refuge. I didn't say open borders. Although I am pro-immigration, pro-multiculturalism, I think that's attached to the excellence. And I definitely, like city of refuge. Like I support some refugees, and but no, I mean I think you're purposely overstating my position.
I'm trying to understate it. I'm just saying that you're pro-multi. Okay, I'll walk it back.
I'm a extreme civic nationalist. I think
you're a multiculturalist.
And even for empire, I think for America to retain her majesty, we're going to have to be more global. We need a more global strategy, and that means more immigration. I think either looking at different demographics, we could absorb a lot more immigrants. We could increase the immigration level from certain countries, and but no, I mean not open borders. And saying that I'm not saying everyone's from Mexico has the right to come here to America. That's not the same thing as their strategic. My views would probably be similar to Bloomberg's, but he might be literally open borders. I don't know.
But and I'm saying that my worldview is not multicultural. My view is that America is a country of its citizens, and that its citizens get to dictate the culture that pervades the society. And
I don't disagree on that. I mean, that's why I'm in these forums making the arguments, but I'm not disagreeing with that premise of yours. I just think that America will thrive and it'll be the best for the citizens to further go down the road of multiculturalism.
Which I don't agree with. So what I'm saying, though, is that politically, I would support people who don't want to enforce their views on people who don't want it. Okay? If New York LA
But
and San
that's
Francisco will be
organization camps, and you're saying, maybe we'll be living in different areas.
I've often said that balkanization would probably be preferable. I just don't think the left will give it to us. I think that we're hoping for something that they'll never allow to happen. They'll settle for nothing but total control, whereas we would settle for balkanization.
Yeah, might be, but in a practical trajectory, it'd have to be a return to states' rights, and it'd be people largely voting with their feet, where different states start enacting very different policy to such an extent that that affects what places people move to, and people actually start picking up and transferring state to state based on these extreme difference in policies.
Repeat that?
Just a trajectory of how this might happen. It might not be like the left may not have to concede. It'd just be the failure of the federal government to enact policy. If Trump could limit the federal government, return some of that power to the state, that would really be the only thing necessary to start this process, is just returning some powers to the state. And then different states could enact vastly different laws on things that would cause people not to want to live in certain states. And maybe we could still preserve a union where you could have multicultural states, and you could have states of much different character that are still part of the same union.
Bro, I'm telling you, if the left wanted to just stay in California, Oregon, Washington State, New York City, and those areas, if they were solid on saying all we want is to have our gun controlling, pro-choice, like multicultural havens in these areas, I guarantee you that nobody would care at all. But what I'm saying is they don't want that. What they want is for everybody else to accept their point of view. And they want everybody else to start to live by their rules. They don't believe that society is an agreement among citizens. They believe that they know best, and they're going to tell you how that you have to live.
Well, I agree, but I'm saying if Trump was able to return a lot of these powers to the state, naturally the blue states would become more blue, and the red states would become more red, and there might be...
They actually wouldn't, because the blue states would become more bankrupt, and the red states would become more prosperous, and sooner or later they would need the red states to fund their insanity in the blue states.
Yeah, but they'd have to change that through federal policy. So if you were able to...
Warming policy, you mean like anti-gun policy? You mean like federal funding policies? You mean like anti-immigration policies? These are all policies that allow them...
Just for the thought experiment, you're saying if Trump was able to run in 2020 on some sort of unified platform that might get a lot of minorities to switch to the right, and this concept of returning the power to the states, greatly limiting the power of the federal government, so that California would essentially be like a different country, although it's still just a state, and we're preserving the union, but California would change course so drastically, and it would be enshrined in law because it'd be the right of the state to live that lifestyle, and it's conceivable we'll preserve the union, and there'll be different states that just have different ways of living, and it'd be conceivable that someone could just hop in their car and move from California to Montana, but the structure would make it be that unless you were trying to live the lifestyle that the people live there, that you wouldn't do that.
But what I'm saying, though, is that what you're talking about is an actual impossibility. Because number one, nobody votes on the idea of returning powers to the states. Okay, because the entire left is based on the idea that the states are racist hotbeds of Ku Klux Klan behavior.
Well, they don't have to vote on it. I'm saying,
Trump, what I'm saying is this:
60 people in the Senate, the Congress, and the next term election. So in 2020, they could get up to 60 people in the Senate, and the majority in the Congress. They'll have basically the supermajority to push forward a new America agenda.
Number one, what I'm saying is that if Trump ran on the same platform that he ran in 2016, tough on borders, tough on crime,
he ran on talking points. I'm talking about 2020.
What I'm talking about is
a platform, having a unified Republican platform of the direction they're going to take America, and having this platform produced of the legislation they plan on enacting before the elections. So
it's
that
not
election. And I'm talking more like think like Modi or Erdogan, where you could create a supermajority to change the structure of the country.
There's something that Modi and Erdogan have that Donald Trump will never have.
I'm not sure you're right. I'm saying what the Hindu majority?
Supportive majority media.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. You could look at the demographics. I mean, if you look at if you compared like Hindus to whites, I mean, and separated like Muslims and the different people out, and saying it's conceivable Trump will be able to create a supermajority to get behind a legislative platform.
But I'm talking about, check this out right now, right? You want to talk about the biggest injustice?
The legislative platform would include a vision of America that is safely a divided America, where we're still in America, where California has become a multicultural, blue country, and maybe large swaths of different parts of America have changed the law and became more red and ethnic or different methods, but we still preserve the Union.
What I'm saying is that what I expect from Trump in order for him to win in 2020 is that he has to start leveling with the people and telling them what's actually going on. And one of them is this. When you talk about illegals coming in, right, everyone says, oh, well, they're influencing the vote. And the Dems have done a great job of letting you think that what we're saying is that the illegals are coming over the border and they're voting in elections illegally and they're influencing the outcomes of elections, which is not what anybody's talking about. What illegals do is they come into the border, they come over the border, they get to California, they get to Arizona, they get to Las Vegas, Nevada, they get to Florida, they get to New York, and they get sanctuary status, right? They're then counted in the census, which is done by population, not by citizenship, okay? And the census determines the allocation of congressional seats. And that's why you have 54 congressional seats allocated to California, and only 6 of them are Republican. Okay, they have a massively disproportionate amount of influence and leftist influence because of the fact that they're a sanctuary state with an open borders policy, which allows immigrants to be counted towards the census. So when you're talking about anti-immigration, what I'm talking about is that there shouldn't be a difference between legal and illegal. There shouldn't be anything. There should only be citizen and non-citizen. A non-citizen should not be counted in the census, period. I don't care if it's about allocation of money. I don't care if it's about allocation of resources. It's about allocation of political power. And for right now, we're allocating a massive, over-dramatic amount of political power to those states who have determined that they will not abide by our laws. They're saying, no, we are a sanctuary state. We will not abide by federal immigration law. Okay, well, then your population shouldn't be counted at all, if that's the case. If you're willing to say, okay, we're not going to abide by federal law and we're going to count non-citizens towards the census and we can't be trusted to not do that, then your results, your counting should be thrown out. It shouldn't be allowed to be factored in. But Trump isn't saying that. He's saying, hey, we got this invasion coming on the border and it's such a shitty thing. And, it's going to really suck because they're sending murderers and drug dealers and all kinds of shit, which even if it is true, right, that they're not bad people, they're bad hombres, they're all of this stuff, right? In the end of the day, that is not the issue. The issue is them being counted in the census. The issue is political representation. The issue is political power. Because then when California, who has now this huge immigrant population of people who cannot go to the political powers that be to change anything, now all of a sudden these radical leftists have influence over the rest of the country to change the laws and to influence the laws in a way that they didn't earn and their population doesn't deserve.
We could pull this out, but I mean, let's say California, that okay, they could go to California, they could vote in local elections, they're safe there, but if they cross over the state border, then they could be arrested. They're no longer considered legal. If you could preserve the union with these, by allowing the states to view this differently, and even if California did want to grant them full voting rights to vote in local elections, that they still wouldn't be able to vote in federal elections or something.
I don't care.
There might be some middle ground.
I don't care at all.
Returning power to the states could solve.
I don't care at all if California wants to enact policies that only affect California. That's fine. I don't give a shit. If they want to live in paused out villages with AIDS needles on the ground and shit on the sidewalks, then that's their own business and they can do whatever the fuck they want. But the issue is that the illegals and their sanctuary policies are allowing them to get congressional districts that should be going to Montana, that should be going to Wyoming, that should be going to Texas, that should be going to Florida, that should be going to Georgia, because the people there, whether we like them or not, are citizens. The people in the sanctuary state of California are not citizens. There are millions of people who are not citizens in the state of California, and they're being counted towards the census, which is what is used to determine political representation in this country.
Yeah. I mean, you're just describing the broken system that we're a lot of us are pretty familiar with, and you're saying, so are there solutions?
Yeah, Trump can get up and say that. Trump can get up and say, listen, the idea that illegals are voting in elections, A, it's pretty rare, and B, when they do it, we catch them pretty easily. Okay, but this is the issue with illegal immigration, and I'm going to spell it out to you, is that they're being counted in the census, and watch the Democrats hit the fucking roof. When we say that there should be an actual head count as opposed to using sampling and population density, and say that there should be a check mark on the census that says whether a person is a citizen or non-citizen, they hit the fucking roof. Trump already suggested it once. And guess what? They went nuts. They went absolutely crazy at the idea that in the census, someone would be asked whether they're a citizen or not. Which makes no sense, because if they were just for, helping migrants and making sure that people can come here and get their strawberry picking jobs and make a better life for themselves, they wouldn't care about the fact of whether they're listed as a citizen or non-citizen if there was no ramifications to them saying I'm a non-citizen. But they want the political power. They want the political representation. And in the end of the day, if it takes balkanization to stop this, then it takes balkanization. But I just don't think that they're going to surrender without a fight, because I think they know California is basically bankrupt without federal gibs. California can't keep giving all these gibs out to their non-citizen population and all of their minority populations without federal money. So the idea of them just going, oh, hey, I got a great idea, let's succeed. That's like the slave owner that says, oh, I've got 200 slaves, I'm king of the world. And then they say, okay, well, we're going to build a fence around your plantation and you can't sell your shit to anybody. Then what's the purpose of having the slaves? All you have is a whole bunch of open mouths to feed. You know what I'm saying? Like right now, they bank on the fact that we're willing to pay for this nonsense and that we're willing to let them get away with this kind of shit. Whereas at the same time, that's what Trump needs to be doing. He needs to come out and he needs to spell out the issues and stop fucking around with it and stop getting on Twitter and calling people lying this and stupid this and horseface that. Yes, it's all funny when he does stuff like that. It's all funny when he gets involved and, starts doing all this kind of stuff. But at this point in time, when people are getting assaulted, when journalists are being banned from social media, when people are getting assaulted in their homes and on the streets, when Antifa is basically given free reign to do whatever they want, we need a president that's going to come out and say, this is the situation. This is what's going on. This is what I'm running on. And that's the problem. And what am I lying about? Well, I haven't said anything untrue yet.
Well, it's like part of the deal. Is there a deal here? You're saying no, there's just polar opposites on these issues, and one side's going to win, and the other's going to lose, or these balkanization, state rights concept is saying no, there might be a deal here. There might be a way to work out that people's interests on both sides are preserved, and one side doesn't have to win and the other lose.
I think that there could be a scenario where that could happen. Yeah, but as I said, it would have to be based on honesty. Do you really believe that next week there's going to be either side that accepts the results of these elections, regardless of who wins? If let's say DeSantis, whatever his name is from Georgia, and McSally all pull out the wins, and Rick Scott all pull out the wins, right? Even if it's by 2 votes. Okay. At the end of the day, no one on the left will accept it. They'll say that no, they did something shady. They were able to not count every vote. And if they don't pull it out and the left wins, the right will never accept that this was done fairly. And there's no reason for them to.
Well, when the courts accept it, it becomes reality. But yeah, they're going to keep on fighting, and because the stakes are big. Because it's coming. People have extremely different visions for the future of America. And if you lose your stake in government, it could be the other side is going to completely change the culture of America. And that's why I'm saying it's gotten toxic where there's got to be a new type of deal why we keep on coming back to like states' rights or some form of balkanization, so we don't keep on killing each other and trying to win this battle.
But you keep saying balkanization as if it's something that me and I believe other people on the right wouldn't accept. We would absolutely accept balkanization. It's the left that wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know. I'm not so sure you're a spokesman for the right, and I don't think you're right on that. I think most people on the right have no. They want to win. They don't want to balkanize.
If you,
you're saying as a libertarian, but like,
do you believe that if California came out tomorrow and said, "Fuck this country, you all are a bunch of racist hicks, and we want nothing to do with you, we're seceding"? Do you think that there would be a majority movement amongst the right saying, "No, please stay"?
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I mean, they might have to send the army in and forcibly preserve the Union. I don't know, which politicians, but yeah, I could picture a lot of people in the Republican Party saying like, no, I mean, this is worth calling the army to preserve the Union. We can't let these people succeed. It'll ruin our country.
So again, then you're saying that the end result will be war.
Well, that's why I'm looking for a viable solution to, the art of the deal that yeah, say if it looks like that one side's going to win and that's going to alienate huge amounts of the population to say like this is no longer the America that I could live in, and they're looking like, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to leave to another country, the global world. What's the chance that America is going to change and I'm going to pick up and find a better life someplace else? I'm going to stay and fight, and because there's enough of a constituency on both sides of this issue, there's if it was Kevin Michael Grace like 80-20 rule, where you have 80% on one side of the issue and 20% on the other side, and from that 20%, 20% of those will be willing to fight. So 4% of the population will be willing to fight, and that's probably maybe even more on both sides of the issue. That for the multiculturalism and the open borders, and on the ethnic side, and these people are going to fight, and they're not going to let the whole country change without putting up a fight. And that's only some peaceful dismantlement of the empire that possibly preserves the Union will be able to avoid this fight.
But I keep saying I would like to avoid.
Well, you're saying like, no, this fight's inevitable. Let's just choose the right side and go gung ho.
No, I'm not saying go gung ho. I'm saying I would like to preserve the Union. I would think that would be preferable. I just don't believe it's going to happen.
Because you've analyzed the scenarios. You say, okay, I'm a man of God. I just pray to God, and maybe miraculously God's going to show us a way forward, because we've already examined all the scenarios, and all the scenarios seem to lead to like all hell breaking loose in war.
Right. Well, Jewel Citizen seems to think that I'm not a spokesman of the right. No, I'm not a spokesman for the alt-right, thank God. But I don't want to be a spokesman for you if that's what you consider yourself. I don't consider myself on the alt-right. So no, I don't. You're right. I'm absolutely not a spokesman for the alt-right. I'm very much in line with the thinking of the majority of right-wing people in this country that are not alt-right. So no, I'm not a spokesperson, but I definitely am echoing things that I'm hearing from people all over.
I'd have to do exact research, but I mean, from my suspicion would be that you're letting California secede is largely outside of the Overton window, even on the right, and that most people on the right would not be happy to allow California to succeed. Although I haven't actually seen polling data.
I would bet you that that's not true. With what's going on in California, people would not want to just keep them in the Union by force.
Yeah, I'd have to see polling data on that, because I'm just speculating.
I don't think there's probably been much polling data on it, because it's something that nobody wants to think of. No one wants to think of the idea that we might have to go to war with each other.
Well, it's not even within the Overton window, but I can't, I've never heard any mainstream politician. So you're saying most people on the right wouldn't care if California would succeed? And I was like, nah, that can't be. I don't think you're going to find even one mainstream right-wing politician that's going to even mention the idea of the possibility of California succeeding.
I don't think that any mainstream politician's been asked about it. So
you did say that the right doesn't care.
I don't think they would.
Well, who is the they if there's not a single mainstream politician on the right that agrees with you?
I'm not saying they agree or disagree. I'm saying nobody's asking.
Because it's not even within the Overton window, the concept of California succeeding.
I mean, there's a lot of things that don't go into the origin window until somebody says, hey, I have an idea. And a lot of people have said Calexit, California should secede. All I ever hear is people say that California being a sanctuary state is a problem. That California demanding this is a problem. A lot of people see the problems in California. We would like to think that we can work it all out. I just don't think that we can.
Yeah, and saying California succeeding would be the failure of America.
I don't think so. It's just one state. People can just, think about what the alt-right on a daily basis says, that we just want to separate. We just don't want you to be a part of our destiny anymore. So people on the right say that too. They say, I just want to be left alone. I don't want to be a part of a liberal social experiment. I'm very comfortable with them just staying the fuck away from me. You know, if they only seem to get upset when all of a sudden the people come in. Oh, you seem to be watching in the chat, Jewel. If you're so fucking bold, leave. Okay.
Well, I mean, it's like looking at Sears or something. Like, everyone knew Sears was going bankrupt, over the last few months or years, and you could look at their books and see the numbers aren't adding up. And unfortunately, looking at America as a whole, and you could see, like, our numbers are kind of bleak. It's looking like we might have a lot of problems, and we're not going to be able to get past it. And we got to make intelligent decisions moving forward. To the point, yes, you look at the red and blue on those maps, when we were looking at the elections, and saying, like, that looks like civil war when you see, like, the red and blue, and it's been multiple elections now that these tendencies of geographic tendencies are showing.
Mm-hmm. But look at that, Jewel. Listen, guys, I got to go anyway. I got to be at my office in an hour, so I got to go take a shower and get ready. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on, Mr. Halsey.
Thanks. Dude, we'll do this again, though, man. I really, really enjoyed this. So, okay.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow. See who shows up for the Brundlecast tomorrow.
As I said, I'm on JF at 7. I have my own show at 9, but who knows after that?
Yeah, I'll definitely watch you and JF. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about a couple of really interesting topics. I'm being intentionally vague about what we're talking about. So, okay. But I think you guys are going to enjoy it.
Brilliant. Looking forward to it.
Okay, guys. Right. I'll talk to you later.
Night, Mr. Halsey. Take care. All right, awesome. Mr. Duvid, I know that you're feeling tired as well, so if you're winding down for the night, do you have any last words? Or can you keep going for a while?
Yeah, I was just going back and forth with Halsey, and I didn't really have, like, a thread or direction. But yeah, I enjoyed this stream. Like, I was pretty surprised Pat Little showed up on that stream. I got a lot more research, and I think there might be some interesting thing happening in it could be we're actually moving to finding solutions on these streams, and we've talked out these things, and people have seen analysis of a lot of the different scenarios to the point where maybe there is a deal to be made, and it doesn't have to be a fight for one side or the other to win.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think? What's your takeaway from the conversation with Halsey? If you could summarize the conversation first of all, because some people in the chat have had a hard time following. Summarize the conversation, largely your point and Halsey's point, and then give your takeaway.
I think we both have to commit a lot more study to it. Immigration policy is very complicated, and you have to know the technical terms. What's the law? What are the numbers? What's going on? And you could see the difficulty in me and Halsey's conversation is, like, we need a few public study sessions. We've done the blood sports a few times now, and we have to hit back the books and do some more research, because just to argue back and forth again and again, there's got to be a huge inflow of new information and new ideas. So maybe Brundle or whatever, keep it interesting for a few days, but generally I'm more academic. That was arguing with Halsey from that view, also trying to take a more neutral, just what's the truth. To me, there's logic on both sides. I might have my personal opinion, but I could see that let's just find out who are the different factions, what are the interest groups, what are the cost benefit analysis of the various interest groups. And to me, it's more intellectual endeavor I think Halsey's more into the political debate than my more just truth seeking or trying to understand how things work.
Yeah. All right, that's fair. I mean, it would be nice to see a follow-up between you and Halsey, maybe more research, or just see you and Halsey have a debate where it's like a proper, maybe academic-style debate, or something along those lines.
Well, to some extent, maybe the solution to some of these problems are going to come out of the streams. I mean, just the fact that Richard Spencer and Patrick Little both came onto the stream today. You're saying that you keep on talking about it, keep on doing more research, and there might be solutions. As of now, there's basically no solutions to these problems, but it's possible that better ideas will come forward, combinations of different ideas, and I don't like wasting so much time just repeating the same arguments again and again for theatrics. More like, okay, we've said what we had to say, and now we both have to kind of...
I mean, there were clearly some main sticking points that you kept coming back to again and again that you seem to be continually split on, or seeing from different perspectives, rather. And I think that when points like that happen, simply the disagreement should be chronicled and understood by both parties, and then maybe moved on from, so that more ground can be covered.
My vision, like I had talking about the 7 laws of Noah, but saying, there's this universal brotherhood of man and the commonality, but at the same time, people have vastly different ways of living, and even to say what it means to be America, is that maybe someone in California, you could have vastly different laws and be multicultural and civic nationalist, but when they say they're American, that a person living in like largely white red state means the same thing that the multiculturalist in California means. And if you just think that that's logically impossible, and you're not going to be able to preserve a union where part of America is multicultural and part of it is ethnic, or there is no greater civic nationalism that we're all going to be able to rally behind for a super majority. And that I'm still searching to find that, although, like a lot of us, I'm skeptical and looking at the possibilities of what's going to happen. But the main purpose of these streams is hoping that these better ideas are going to emerge, even if they're not presently there. You just have to do the research. What's the current state of thought? What are the best ideas that exist now? And if none of the ideas that exist now are going to solve the problems at hand, either we got to get into disaster management and prepare for the tsunami coming, or maybe better ideas will emerge that are going to be able to solve the problems facing us.
Yeah. Well, eloquently put, David. Do you have any plans for your channel in the near future? I've noticed that you've had a lot of really interesting streams lately. Some exploration around Detroit. You seem to have been having an interesting time.
Well, I mean, the
Out
Pittsburgh
on the town.
Oh, I did. Were you watching my stream? I had to delete it, but from the
interfaith?
dance party at the synagogue. No, we had a dance party at the synagogue.
Oh, yeah, the
last
dance
night.
party, and there was a woman the one with the woman at the end.
Yeah, and she was like, she didn't want like the liability of me filming, but it was a huge event. Lots of people popped into the synagogue. There were a lot of whites. It was a huge mix. We had gays and everybody, and just techno music, and we're dancing, and it was a pretty positive event. Like a lot of solidarity, unity through dance music. But Hanukkah's already coming up within a month. So when Hanukkah, I'll probably be doing a lot of live streaming from Hanukkah events on like an intellectual form. We'll see what happens with
Was anyone
Brundle.
breakdancing there? Any breakdancing?
Breakdancing where?
At the dance party?
Oh, no, we didn't really have any breakdancing.
Did you form a circle
It was
and
like
someone
more-
breakdance in the middle?
No, it was more like house music. I mean, there was some. It was packed. Like
Oh,
we
they had
had
some
like
house
200
music,
people packed in the
interesting.
synagogue. We had a line outside, and we had free booze. I mean, the cheap
Oh,
booze.
that's
but,
lit. Yeah. Maybe pop
and
some
it's the district
maybe pop
music.
some Molly, go in there, have a crazy time.
Yeah, I mean, it could
Sounds
be
pretty
people.
intense, David.
It's Detroit. That's the synagogue is in a district of, in between bars and clubs. So, that's, if you're in Manhattan or something like that, maybe you're in a more residential area, but sometimes there's commercial entertainment areas. Like there's an actress synagogue. I remember there's a synagogue in Chelsea in the West Village. But yes, our synagogue is in a largely entertainment area. So all we had to do is open the doors, and people walking off the street who are already going looking for parties at different places, just wheel them in straight off the street.
Wow, sounds pretty lit. If I
remember
say so myself.
Because you definitely seen this. I forget the name, but there's that old church that was turned into a club. I think it's in the West Village somewhere, but I remember driving past it and it's like that. But it was a former church, and they turned it into a club, and there's always long lines outside. But it was an interesting event, and it was somewhat positive just to see like multiculturalism at work and all the different people, getting along together, coming into the synagogue, and people asking questions. A lot of people, it's their first time in their life in the synagogue, and so just answering basic questions or telling people what we do. For intellectual streams, I wouldn't mind like talking with people like E. Michael Jones or Kevin McDonald or any of these names for intellectual debates. Or I'd debate Eric Stryker again. My research would probably be directed on it. Like, so if I had debates scheduled, I'd probably be studying towards that. If I do a public study session, maybe just something that interests me and I decide to do one, or if people recommended it. So I'm pretty unclear on what my streaming future is going to be. So maybe this week with Brundlefly will help, clarify it. Whether maybe people will, want to set up debates or shows with me. And, so if that's the case, I'll probably move in that direction. If not, I might, say like, okay, I'm not going to monetize. I'm not going to be doing streaming much. I'm just going to, maybe an occasional talk and in just the live stream of the stuff I've been streaming for years.
Do you have anyone you want to call out and challenge to a debate? Officially? You want to throw down, Duvid? Are you ready?
No, I think I'm more like I'm a man of ideas more. So it's like I never really heard of E. Michael Jones, and I heard of him. I read his book. It was very interesting. So it's not necessarily like, oh, I want to debate E. Michael Jones, but it's like, but we could do a formal debate, but it's more the ideas that interest me. And the debate is, just the activity that keeps my scholarship fresh, that makes me organize my thoughts and, make sure I have the most presentable recent information. I don't really have any like blood sport beef or something where there's someone I want to topple or show they're wrong. And if it's something like evolution,
you don't have any
like
call-outs
I debate
to make? You're making quite a few call-outs over the course of your career. You don't want to fire any shots?
No, I'm not. I don't really harbor any hatred. I wouldn't, because I love Judaism. I would take the affirmative in like a JQ debate anytime, whether it was Patrick Little, Eric Stryker, Kevin McDonald, Lee Michael Jones, any of those people that want to, take a negative against the JQ. I would always be happy to defend the Jewish people, but I'm not really calling any of those people out. If they want to discuss it, I'm happy to, but I'm not like, like, oh, I really, like Halsey or something on that. That's not my personality style. Like says, I'm a man of ideas.
You should make a documentary.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to say like if I streamed and I was monetized, I don't have a Patreon or like any of these things. So I'm thinking like, okay, I keep on getting more subscribers. I'm up to like 430 some. I'm going to get 1,000 subscribers. Maybe if Brundlefly has a good week and we have a good streams, and he could set me up with a few debates. I could get over 1,000 subscribers. And then, maybe if I had like a Patreon or something, I could, do research on more things. And I'm not sure if it even makes sense like that. So as of now, like I like streaming. I enjoy these conversations, but I'm not unclear whether I'm just a person using the YouTube technology or whether I'm a streamer. And whether like just talking for talking's sake, or I'm more purpose driven. That okay, like we got to research something, we got to come to resolution. But once that's done, like I don't mind. We're not going to stream for like a few months because there's no reason just to talk for the sake of talking. And maybe you're in the same boat. Like you enjoy streaming, you'll stream some Manhattan, some live stream stuff, and occasional talk. But whether you actively like have a vision where you're going to have a successful nightly show or something like that. Like Halsey, good for him, 9 o'clock every night. Like Luke Ford, I would say one of the main benefits public space Luke Ford is that they do it every night, and Halsey also. So like if that's what he wants to do, doing it every night's a big deal. But I don't see that like me. Like no, I don't. That's not. I don't think that's ever going to be me.
Interesting. Perhaps more within your scope is some sort of presentation, a PowerPoint presentation authored by you, wherein you talk about the rise and fall of particular individuals or movements and sort of various online subcultures and metapolitical occurrences.
I can see like
that would be very
evolution
interesting to see from your perspective.
If I became like famous for arguing against evolution, and I could combine that with study sessions where I'm reviewing information and through debates, I would know the points that, to do more research, or the most recent contested points and things for like the JQ or something like that. So I could see that, and just if there's demand, where people are going to recruit me to debate evolution in the JQ, and then I would be able to design research and public study sessions around what I'm researching, and even have a group of people like that were studying and thinking about the same things, like to create that intellectual community that we talked about when I was doing those consciousness streamings, where just like like I'm really interested in these things. I'm constantly reading and studying and thinking about it in unofficial terms. And, I'm not going to roll in university or have a think tank. So just hoping that we could put it out here on YouTube and find common interest and take advantage of the technology. Versus saying like, I don't think I'm going to, if I could make, even the fantasies like of making a living from streaming. So it's like, as of now, it's like, I'm not going to be a streamer. I'm not going to make money from streaming, even though maybe a few people would have sent me a donation if I had a Patreon or a Streamlabs. It's just like, I don't want to get into like the fantasy of making a living from doing this. So I haven't even set up a Patreon or Streamlabs.
Interesting.
Although I see you do have a Streamlabs, right?
Yeah. Someone donated me money, but I returned it. I just have the Streamlabs because I like to use the OBS software.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, someone in the chat made a quintuple entendre, which is Jewel Citizen, which is funny because they spelled it J-U-U-L, and it was a pun on an earlier name, which was Jewel Citizen, which was a pun on both jewels, like the mineral formation, as well as jewels like Jews, as well as Jewel Citizen. So it's
I agree.
Jewel.
The JQ is a valid question. I don't mind talking with Patrick Little and him voicing his opinion. And I think it's valid to look at, although I'm a multiculturalist and generally a defender of the weak and the orphans and the oppressed, that people could look at, should look at these different, who are these people, what effect do they have on society, and we're going to be better off having these discussions. And some of these are pretty clever, the names and, Jewel Citizen. But that's a valid issue in of the complaints of Jews, like the ADL anti-Semitism survey. This idea of dual loyalty is age-old complaint to the Jewish people, and there's reasonable amount of evidence that Jews do have this character of dual loyalty, and as Jews, that's something that we should be ready to address, and shouldn't hide from that issue. And props to Jewel Citizen. That's pretty clever. Whoever you are, pretty clever.
Yeah. Have you ever used a jewel, Tuvid? One of these things, a jewel?
I'm not. I did work on 47th Street. Well, I'm not into jewelry.
It's a jewel. A jewel. It's a nicotine vaporizer. I don't really use it anymore because I try to stay away from nicotine ever since I quit smoking. But yeah, it's a nicotine version of what you've got there.
Yeah, no, I don't smoke nicotine, only marijuana.
Yeah, that's good. Honestly, nicotine is bad for you. Probably best not to smoke it. So I'm curious. There are some questions from the chat. If anyone has any questions for Duvid, now's the time to ask. Let's see. There are several questions from the chat.
Yeah, I'll stick around a few minutes if someone been watching me for hours. We've been streaming for like 10 hours. For like
Someone said we want
almost
Duvid
10
vlogs.
hours.
An Armenian in the chat said we want Duvid vlogs.
I'm looking at the chat. I don't see Duvid. What vlogs? Vlogs?
They want Duvid vlogs.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to decipher the meaning of the chat. Like who's watching me, why people are watching me, what they want out of it, and even because I watch a lot of people, and just because I want some of the background or I just want information, and it's just I search something in YouTube and whoever's talking about it, you have to look through and you see a few different people talking about the interest, and you might end up watching them, and or they're through circles like JF, Heel Stream or something where you're on a bigger stream, and then people follow that stream to your channel. I wouldn't mind talking with Brundlefly, just talking about the dynamics of micro streaming, who's watching, how to build up an audience. It's an interesting subject that is probably recent enough that it hasn't really been studied. You may be
it's quite interesting to me. I'm sure he has some insights on. I'm sure he has some insights on that matter. Although I'm sure a lot of it was luck and being in the right place at the right time and simply instinct. Yeah, I'd be very interested to hear his thoughts. Yeah, you should propose that to him. What are your thoughts on this week of Brundle streams? Also, Judas, are you still here?
Haven't heard from him in a long time. I'm not sure, man. He's been saying he wants to do it. He's there. First day he had those big names, but at the same time, like, I don't know where we're gonna go. We're gonna talk for hours and hours, and is it just gonna revert to like arguing about multiculturalism and immigration, and what new are we gonna add to the debate? But it's possible it's gonna become interesting. There'll be new blood or just something. But certainly the numbers, I think we've improved our skills from doing these streams, better at talking, better at organizing our ideas, more research, more facts, and you can see that in the viewership, just that there's increased viewership probably due to the quality of the streams increasing and exposure. Having been out there a while, that there's just more exposure.
Yeah. You should. I don't know how things are going to go either. We'll simply have to see.
Just like,
no, sorry, go ahead.
Just that we got 24 people watching now. Where usually that might be 3 times what we usually have.
Yeah, it's 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. A lot of people on my channel are also from the continent, so it's like it's probably late for them. So shouldn't expect a lot of people watching now, honestly.
Yeah, man, I think I call it a night. I'm exhausted. I got do things tomorrow.
Brilliant. I mean, there are a few questions for you in the chat if you'd like to answer them, but if not, then it's been a pleasure having you.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
All right. First of all, 90s Duvid was the best Duvid. What would you do? What would you do if Duvid started spinning and screaming? What does that mean?
I mean, I could see that sometimes when you're in synagogues or even in Manhattan, there's sketchy people, and like you're in the park. I mean, certainly in Manhattan, you feel that all the time. Like, oh man, it's just a wait for this guy's going to spaz.
Yeah, often. Less so now than even 5 to 10 years ago in New York.
Yeah, I might have that kind of personality where people are like, oh man, this dude's going to spaz, and it's just like, no, like it's been a few years, he hasn't spazzed. But some people have that interpretation of me, like come in and it's like, oh man, what's this guy? What's wrong with him? It's just a matter of time till like this guy does something bad. We're gonna have to remove him. But then you say like, nah, it's been years. Like I haven't spazzed. It's not part of my personality. I'm pretty much in control of myself.
All right, so we're just continuing with the Ask Duvid section. I'm just going to ask you some quick rapid-fire questions. Reticent Samaricane asks, what should I eat for breakfast, Duvid? Any recommendations?
I don't usually eat breakfast, but I'm vegetarian. But I was always a pancake. When I ate eggs, I loved like pancakes and eggs. Like breakfast food was always one of my favorites. These days, I rarely eat breakfast. Just like coffee.
Pained Gore asks, does the Talmud really allow smoking pot?
It's unclear. I mean, if in terms like smoking is generally recognized, although you should guard your health. So in terms of you can't smoke because it's bad for your health, there could be such a thing. There's various opinions about smoking pot, and the Galilees, the famous rabbi a few years ago, Pesach, made a blessing on it, and it's been growing a lot of acceptance even within the Orthodox world. We could do like a stream on some of like the rabbinic responsa and actual halakhic writings regarding the topic if you wanted a different time.
I actually looked into this a bit during my teenage years, and so I'd love to host a stream or participate on a stream on that topic. If anything else to say on that before I move on to the next few questions?
No.
All right. Let's see. How is ultra-Orthodox circumcision legal? Asks Ricky Cito.
Ask your de Blasio. I'm saying due to good lobbying, due to community pressure, and saying Bloomberg made some efforts to put limitations on it. God forbid, due to like the herpes outbreak, and that's why the ultra-Orthodox backed de Blasio, and one of his election promises was to allow Matzitza Balpes. So that's your community concerns issues, and avowing yourself to the political process to you promote your interests.
All right, so there you have it. Good lobbying. Let's see. Renee Guénon has risen from the grave to ask, will Duvid apologize to white people for what his people have done?
Well, I don't know if my apology. I'm saying certainly, usually before I go to sleep, I try to repent for my sins, and hope that I haven't harmed people, and prayed that God that I'm forgiven for the harm. Basic prayer in most prayer books before you go to sleep. I try to be like ahimsa, without harm, Hindu Jain concept. I believe in ahimsa. I have no intention to harm anybody. It could be my policy thing, on these streams, arguing controversial ideas about immigration and multiculturalism. Although, that's why I was talking earlier. My intention is not to harm anybody. I'm a man of ideas, and I'm happy to talk about these ideas. And I don't think you could reasonably assume that the reason I'm espousing these ideas is, some desire to harm people.
Yeah, you don't strike me as a particularly harmful fellow. You're quite peaceful. You're a vegetarian, even.
I espouse ahimsa. To that. I consider myself ahimsa, right?
Yeah. Renee Guénon's having none of it. He says, apology rejected, Duvid. But sorry, go ahead.
I mean, the Sanskrit meaning without ahimsa meaning violence. Ahimsa, Gandhi and the Jain, Jains say our religion is ahimsa, and sometimes they just translate as non-violence. But yeah, man, I'm basically a Hindu in that I ascribe to the principle of ahimsa.
Interesting. All right, so let's see. A few more questions in the chat. Let's see. Yasarian Doe says, now that's what I call Duvid. Even says, we love you, Duvid. No homo. asking, what do you put on the pancakes? I mean, eggs, I assume. Anything else?
I've only been a vegetarian for like 6-7 years now. In most of my life, I skipped breakfast. Although I used to like breakfast food, I didn't often eat breakfast food for breakfast. But yeah, I used to love like omelets with different cheeses.
Yeah.
Like a feta spinach omelet. And
Yeah, who doesn't love a good omelet? A spinach omelet? Delicious.
Butter. There's a local pancake shop. They get really good like banana pancakes, but any kind of pancakes. Nice whipping cream, whipping butter, and I put maple syrup. Like I like maple syrup. I don't have pancakes too often, but like I actually add maple syrup into my stir fries, and it adds a little sweet, combined with the spiciness.
Interesting. That's a good idea.
I'm like,
that's smart. That's smart.
I could do a cooking show.
Yeah, I was thinking. Yeah, David, we should open a restaurant. I'm looking for new investments.
Well, I don't think I wouldn't do a business, but I'd say, if me and you were together, we would probably hang out and like I would cook. Like you're saying, if this stream was like you coming to my house and hanging out, like I probably would have cooked you dinner.
Oh, that would have been delicious. Thank you. I would love to have some maple mixed in with the glaze and sauces.
And I could cook bigger portions. So even if like all of us, I would have cooked dinner for everybody, enough for everyone.
Have enough to bring home in a little Tupperware. That sounds absolutely lovely. Thank you, David. A few more questions. Ricky Cito, as a follow-up question, asks, "What's the ethical argument? What's the argument for it, and why? Just why? Why do they do it? What purpose does it serve? Forget the legality. What's the religious purpose?" And then someone else asks you to start spinning. start spinning. But they're asking about circumcision. Unfortunately, right next to the talk of pancakes. Rather unfortunate.
Well, I mean, it could be according like I said. There's the hukim and
the circumcision ritual, rather the mitzvah balpeh.
Well, it could be. It's like hukim and mishpatim, that there is no reason for it. It was just commanded by God, and we do it as a sign of submission to God because it was commanded, and it's not one of the logical mitzvahs that even had God not commanded it, that logic could have derived it, like, thou shalt not murder, no adultery, no kidnapping, no stealing, and that the circumcision is not one of those. Circumcision is an actual, possibly illogical act, but it was given over by the prophets as a sign of submission to the Creator. In fact, what's the word for covenant in Hebrew?
I'm not sure.
Brit.
Brit.
So
yeah, Bris
means covenant. So bris mila is the covenant of the foreskin, I guess. But bris, and when Abraham makes a covenant with God, he gets circumcised. That was the covenant that Abraham made with God. That basically he was going to dedicate his life to God's service and God's mission. But the action that he took to demonstrate the covenant was circumcision. Yeah. And so saying in Hebrew, the actual word circumcision means covenant.
Interesting. Claire Caw just arrived. Of all
you
people,
could say we're like, okay, we became pretty good friends, but like, can we really trust each other? And in ancient times, people may have became like blood brothers or something, where we each would have drawn blood and exchanged blood or something like that, the rituals that people did. But you're thinking, what sign could you show that you are truly dedicated to God? And the Bible prescribes circumcision.
Yeah.
It's pretty basic theology.
Yeah, exactly. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with tradition in that sense. Let's see. Some comments. One more comment in the chat. Alejandro Black asks, Sorry, this isn't funny because I've done things kind of similar to this before. But Duvid said, "Have you ever cooked a full vegetarian 3-course meal and then proceeded to blend it and make the same meal again and use the blended original meal as a gravy for the non-blended meal?"
No, but I'm kind of a mix everything together. So even if I make like different courses, or like when I go to like
it all sort of ends up in a gravy consistency.
I don't mix like the dessert with like, but basically like, yeah, I'll usually like kind of just mix everything on my plate together and eat it. But no, I've never went to that far of an extent.
Yeah. Let's see. Claire Caw. I posted the invitation in the chat. She says circumcision is to mark that the infant as owned by Judaism. And then Ricky Cito says not circumcision, ultra-Orthodox circumcision. Rabbis sucking. Will Duvid denounce sucking during circumcision?
No, I'm not going to denounce it. I mean, if I, God willing, one day I'll have a son, and I'm not sure, whoever, who would perform the circumcision, whether I would learn to do it myself or have a trusted family member or somebody. I haven't decided whether how, God willing, one day when I have a son I'll go about that. But no, I'm not going to denounce it. That's part of our tradition, and people who want to preserve that part, I would protect their right to do that. Certainly I'm not going to denounce my own heritage.
All right, let's see. So that seems to be it for the comments in the chat. Start spinning, unless you want to start spinning. I think that seems to be it for the night. Excellent. Well, excellent. Thank you so much for appearing on my channel, David. Really great having you on. Any closing remarks?
Yeah, let's keep it going. You'll see like tomorrow how the Brundlecast goes, and if it's interesting, maybe we'll do another stream. I actually have my parents out of town, and I have very little work this week, so I have a lot of time to stream this week. So if the Brundlecast is good, maybe the after streams will be good also.
All right. Well, God willing.
Yeah, and we'll build up. We mutually build our channels up together.
Yeah. God willing. God willing. Thank you so much for coming on, Duvid.
Okay, Shalom. Have a great night.
Brilliant. You too. Take care.
Okay.
All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching. As you can see, I'm a complete wreck. I just recently, about a week ago, had all 4 of my wisdom teeth extracted, so my face is totally puffy. I haven't been outside, so I've been, what's it called? My Jew friend's been growing out and look kind of ridiculous. Yeah. It's really good to see everyone. Thank you so much for watching the stream, and I am now going to be starting a new stream wherein I'm going to be preserving Brundlefly's video, sort of restreaming it so that the stream and the comments are perfectly preserved. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, everyone. This is Babylonian Hebrew. Take care. Have a nice one. That's what I look like when my wisdom teeth are not messing my face up. And with a cool like painted effect on. It's called Deep Dream. You can look it up in the look up Deep Dream. It's interesting. It's made by Google I think Google team people, so it's probably harvesting your data for nefarious purposes, but regardless, it's an interesting tool. So go check it out, Deep Dream, if you want to have cool painted effects, kind of like this one, where it looks like it's drawn in highlighter marker. Alright, without further ado, I will end this stream and start the next one. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hello, so this is going to be an archived version of the Brundlecast Relaunch Party by none other than Mr. Brundlefly himself. Alright, so let's start this off. Here we go.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Brundlecast. It's been 5-6 months since we did this, David. Glad to see you here. We got Richard is going to come on in a couple minutes. That was unexpected. Norvin Hobbs is going to join us in about an hour. Who else? Eke Lux is coming on tonight. It's going to be a full house. How are you doing, David?
Excellent. Glad you were able to put this back on. Glad hope Richard's able to come on. You get some serious guests, and all the best.
Yeah, no, speaking of guests, I mean, we have E. Michael Jones is going to be on Friday. Josh Neal is going to be, I think it's Thursday. I got to check. I got to double check that one. I think Rodney Martin is going to be on this week. David, you're going to be on a lot, obviously. I'm really looking forward to it. And something I want to say up front, again, as anybody might remember from some of the previous shows, streamlabs.com/Brundlefly is my Streamlabs where you can, make any super chats. Would be greatly appreciated if anybody wants to ask any questions of Richard, David, myself, or any of the guests that are on tonight. What else? Oh, another thing. These streams
did I just
are
accidentally
going to be going
merge
down.
the stream with the other stream? Wait, that wasn't supposed to happen. Yeah, that was definitely not supposed to happen. Sorry, my bad. All right, let's try this again.